And I said, I was like, I don't really have anything giant that I'm hunting. And it was amazing the amount of comments that were like, oh, you poor baby. Blah, blah. Like, dude, I'm not even I'm not even crying about it. I was just talking.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by DeerGrow.
Man, hard to believe, but DeerGrow has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at DeerGrow.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
And we're back.
Ew.
HUNTR Podcast, episode 271.
See the pistols this morning? I don't know where that came from.
Shooter McGavin?
Shooter.
Yeah. As Nick continues to keep us in line from afar.
Thank you, Nick. Hey, wherever you guys are listening to us from, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts are the three main platforms that we drop these episodes on. We do that every Tuesday and Thursday nights now at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be the case here for the duration of the 2025-2026 season. Mm-hmm. If you've written us on Instagram DM, we have a form on the website too. Those are the two that we check the most frequently. Appreciate you guys doing that. I know there's a handful probably that have sat for longer than we intend, but we are making a concerted effort to
try and
respond to those.
Yep.
As they come in. So we have some merch on the website and some more to come. And you can use code HUNTR on any of our partners' website for a discount. And other than that, here we go.
Here we go. Heavy day, dude. Every day.
Yeah.
September 11th.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even cross. And with the Charlie Kirk thing that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Heavy weighted day today, unfortunately. So, yeah, hard to, first thing on the minds when you wake up after you see all that stuff yesterday with Charlie. And, yeah, just tough spot to be in for sure.
Well, we talked about it, a little bit this morning, more about how did they not catch this thing like this?
Mm-hmm.
But it impacted me more than I expected. You know what I mean? Not that you're not impacted anytime something like that happens, but for some reason I was like, oh man. And maybe it was seeing the video.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I saw. Margie's like, did you hear? And then it sent me this 4-second video of head on.
Yeah, I don't unsee that neck shot.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah. And especially like you said, it's not like I've never met Charlie before. I mean, obviously see a lot of his stuff everywhere, and from a grassroots, but you see that atmosphere and, guys done hundreds of those types of events, all across and cool to see the debates back and forth. And then you see that happen. You're like, what the hell? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how to respond. It's just, it's shocking and it's gross, and it's it's
frustrating too.
Frustrating.
Because that's what we were talking about this morning. It's whether it's that or, yesterday there were 2 or 3 kids in Colorado at a high school that got shot, same county that Columbine was in,
wow.
20 some years ago. And the warning signs are there. They're always there. It's never, anytime someone says, well, they didn't know, get the hell, you're full of shit. Somebody knows. There's warning signs out there. And whether people just don't talk or, in this society, I think they're just ignored for the most part. It's just whatever. Yeah, he's a weirdo or she's a weirdo or they are a weirdo, and it's, and so it just gets ignored. And then, the first words out of those same people's mouths are like, I can't believe this happened. And it's like, really? You were there the whole time,
Well, that's you and I were debating kind of this morning about is it ignorance? Is it just a complete data overload of there's that much crazy out there that we don't know what to take serious?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to believe it's more that than they're not caring, but we don't know. I'm not involved in those organizations,
both. Yeah, I mean, I would say at a government or, federal level from a monitoring side, even with, insane AI technology, there's a data overload. It's like, I mean, like I told you this morning, I'm never on X, but I spent like 5 minutes on it this morning, and there was like 4 people. I'm like, I'd knock their doors down and put them in handcuffs, even if it was just to scare the shit out of them, because of the way that they were talking about the Charlie Kirk thing.
Yeah,
and so I would assume there's just a lot of crazies out there, and so if you did monitor it that way, you probably couldn't keep up with them all.
Right.
But on the other side is the what I would consider are the more personal contacts. No different than whatever it was a week or two ago in Minneapolis when that person shot up the Christian school.
Right.
Their mom changed their name because they wanted to be a female. And the first thing the mom said was like, this is disgusting. It's like, you knew. You can't tell me you didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, you knew. And you ignored it or suppressed it or whatever. So, that's the first line of defense, whether it's from a parent standpoint and or close surroundings. Like, there are people that know for sure.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, obviously I want accountability, but like, I got to believe there's, whether it's those ones or others that have happened in the past, like situations where they didn't know. Maybe there were flags, things that we could look at in hindsight and say, you should have known. Mm-hmm. But it's like, are they also the victim in some cases? I mean, I'm with you. I also want the accountability, but it's like,
yeah. And I'm not holding in some cases I hold the parents accountable. I think that's trash. But, in most cases it's I don't know if it's a fear or, naive to just not saying something, and I think my comment to you this morning was like, I'm sure that 98% of the chatter out there is false threats. But until you make an example of those false threats, like, they're going to keep happening because there's no repercussion, so you got to rattle some chains essentially in order to set a precedence that like, we're not tolerating this anymore.
Right.
And I don't know. Yeah. To the resource side, I don't know. Maybe there isn't enough resources for that.
Yeah.
But,
well, and there's a fine line between, free speech and making threats. I think even, I don't know, maybe there is rhetoric or language that clarify, like, hey, you cannot say this, versus, but people say stuff all the time. What I mean? It's like, it could be hard to tease apart. The reality, I think, is, dude, I mean, human beings we're all capable of killing other human beings. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, we all have, we have that ability. Mm-hmm. And we want to, like, we live in a society where it doesn't happen on a daily basis. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not exposed to like death like that. That's why it's so shocking when we see it. But I think we're all capable of it. And that video like that is kind of a reminder.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, obviously we wake up this morning and even with 9/11, like, there's no riots, there's no burning down anything, there's no massive retaliations happening.
Yeah.
Which is the right behavior to happen. There's mourning, there's sadness.
What are you gonna riot? Yeah.
There is anger and frustration.
Yeah.
There's prayer. Like, there are a lot of things, but just because like I'm really tied in, I think, on especially the firearm enthusiast side, which tends to be, very heavy leaning right. It's boiling, and at some point I don't, the lid blows off and we're close on this one. Like, there are a lot of really, really angry people and unfortunately we don't even know who the shooter was yet. Like, that hasn't even been figured out, but and there's stuff being spit online, but none of that's trustworthy until that all comes together. But
we don't know. You know what I mean? Even with to endorse what you're saying, we don't know. Like, even the video, when I first saw it, like, Margie sent it to me, and I was like, I mean, if that's real,
that's
the first thing I said. If that's real, because who
it could be AI.
You can generate anything like that. But I'm like, if that's real, it's like he's done. He died immediately.
Yep.
You don't survive something like that.
No, no, you don't. And so I mean, it's sad. Obviously it's 24 years since 9/11 and being an international terrorist event, and now you've got this, which is probably clearly domestic terrorism, or political assassination, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's just the only thing I could sit there and watch last night as that was all unfolding is like, what the hell is wrong with this world?
Well, you see how easily manipulated we all could be, or people who aren't, open to the idea, at least, that like there's agendas out there. I saw a video of like the on the, I don't know, House of Representatives, the floor of the House of Representatives, I think it was, Mike what's his face was trying to bring order. They did a moment of silence. Did you see this video?
I've heard of it. And then the Democrat was
the context is basically like Democrats refuse moments of silence for Charlie Kirk type thing. And it's like, even to see something like that, I'm like, I have no idea if that's real or not. It's like, but something like that could definitely be created and politically charged to.
Yeah, it's triggering.
It's like, is that real? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and all the media outlets are biased, including ourselves, right? Like, I mean, we've got our own beliefs and agendas.
Of course. I'm sure you saw like I think it was CNN. Like the guy was talking about like, are these Republicans who are firing their guns out of like excitement?
He got fired.
Yeah, good. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
That's a moronic thing to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of people probably getting fired this morning because they made comments about Charlie Kirk that were insensitive.
Yeah.
And it's like, you deserve to be fired. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, who are you and what do you think that you're proving with saying this stuff? The probably, this is coming from podcaster, right? The problem is like everybody just wants to say what they think that should be said.
Right.
And Charlie was one of those people. He believed very powerfully in the freedom of speech to do that. And that's the country we live in, which is great. At the same time, I think a lot of people have zero realization that there are repercussions when you say things. So when you say insensitive things like that, like, oh, I don't know if Republicans were just firing off celebratory shots and it hit them or whatever, like, you're an idiot. You're fired now. That's the repercussion.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can go on your own social media and say that stuff. I mean, those aren't threats. Those are just,
but be ready for the repercussion.
That's your opinion. Yeah, but if you work for a private news organization, I mean, they control what you say. That's the reality. You work for a company who has an agenda, and on either side.
Another one, it was a professor at I think Middle Tennessee State or something.
Yeah.
Said stupid thing. President was like, yeah, they're fired.
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect to happen?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah. On your own time, in your own context, you can do that, but expect repercussions for
whether
private
you are
entities
aligned with him or not. Like,
Yeah.
it's the fact that like this was an assassination that nobody should be celebrating or applauding.
Yeah.
And like, I don't understand how, like, just be a good person.
Yeah.
And it seems like that is so difficult for a lot of people today. They're just angry about like things that, I don't know, don't even affect them. Like, how many white people you see protesting like, black rights or something? And I'm like, you're white. What do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't. You interview them and they're like, well, I mean, clearly they're oppressed. I'm like, okay, how? Like, what? They don't know. They're just mindlessly following the lead of someone else.
Yeah. It was unexpected for sure. I mean, obviously there's political unrest, it has been for years now, but it didn't seem like yesterday of all days that it's like today's a boiling point. I mean, it was kind of unexpected in that way.
Premeditated, I assume.
I mean, yeah.
The fact that they haven't caught someone and that it's gone through the, how many people were there, and like, obviously we don't know everything yet, but surely seems like very well executed in and out situation, like not amateur.
Well, because I don't want to exclude him. We got Ben Rising on the podcast.
Yeah, Ben's
today.
Probably yelling at the
Let's bring Ben and we'll continue this conversation, and then eventually we'll roll into talking about some deer.
Yeah, it's an important day. All right, bring in Ben Rising.
How are you guys?
Good, man. Sorry we got on a bit of a...
no, it's all good, man.
Bit of a tear.
It's a very rough day, isn't it?
Yeah, just,
I cried yesterday, dude. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I cried.
Yeah.
I shed tears for his family, for him. I mean, I was just telling Javin, and I watched Charlie a lot, you know what I mean? And I mean, not to take anything away from 9/11 today, because I don't want to do that either. Those people still always deserve our memory and to be remembered. It was a horrible tragedy. But for something like this to be so fresh in our minds on a day like today is just really rough, And I followed Charlie all the time, watched a lot of his stuff, and just what an intelligent, kind man that just was so full of knowledge and just I mean, and that's why they took him out. I mean,
Yeah.
he was such a threat to the left,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I mean, his ideologies, his belief in Christ and Christianity and morals and being a good person, and he was making a movement. And I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind that that's part of the reason that they assassinated him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw Nick Freitas make a post. I think I shared it, but basically it was, he was murdered because he was effective. Like as a grassroots, political activist, like he was extremely effective. You saw that yesterday before that happened. Is like I'm looking at the amount of people in this, in this university that are there just to hear him talk with other people.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it gives you chills in that factor. And then, yeah, like we were saying earlier, I mean, yeah, I wish I didn't see the end result, because that's kind of burned in my brain at this point. Like,
yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's rough to watch. I mean, it's like, so I was down south looking at timber all morning and in the afternoon, and I didn't even know what had happened until I got almost to home. And then when I got home, Melody showed me the clip, and it was just the side view.
Yep.
And they, at this point, they didn't know, like it hadn't been announced that he had, had passed. And she showed me that clip, and I just said, he's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, he folded like a deer, dude. Like,
yeah.
I mean, just, it was like, you could just tell.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even see the front, and I still haven't seen it. I've been told, and she said, don't watch it.
I wouldn't watch it. Yeah.
And she said, you can just see. But as soon as I walked out the door and was headed to my truck because I had an appointment, and she walked out and told me that that they announced him as dead. But in my opinion, like what I feel like people saw yesterday, and to people like me that are believers and Christians, and to other people, and not comparing him to Jesus Christ, but I feel like it's the closest thing in modern day history we've ever seen to Jesus getting crucified on the cross. Other than say like Martin Luther King getting assassinated also. And I mean, it's just right in front of our very own eyes. They do that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's infuriating, and it's hard to really know where to go with it, because you're mad at the same time. But I also know as a Christian and a believer what Charlie stood for and where he's at and what that all meant to him. And it's hard to explain that to people, but it's still really hard to it's still hard to accept, even though I know that Charlie knew the risk he was taking and where he was headed. And, even though as a believer, he was standing for Christ and all these good things, it's just hard to watch, and it's hard to accept. And, I'm like, no matter how good of a person you try to be, or we are, like, I sure hope I don't ever hear anybody say anything. Like you said, you heard people on X this morning or whatever.
It's like 5 minutes, dude. And I'm never on that, right? But it was just because I was trying to keep up with like the investigation, and obviously Patel and Trump are most vocal on there. So I'm like, I want to see. And I scrolled for like 5 minutes, and there were like 4 people. I'm like, I would be busting this person's door down and rattling the shit out of their cage right now.
Yeah, like how can anybody think that this is okay? I don't care if you don't like somebody or agree with them. I mean, I don't agree with homosexuality, but I ain't going out and murdering them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with a lot of things, but everybody has their own point of view, and like, I just don't get it. And it's just like you said, they're taking people out like him that are so effective. And, they tried to take Trump out. They did get Charlie, unfortunately. But there will be so much good come from this. And I know that's hard to understand. In my opinion, I think there will be a lot of good things happen from this. I don't think it's going to make people stand down. I think we're all going to stand up more.
Sure.
I think it's going to make young people even stronger that believed in Turning Point and, what Charlie stood for. And I think it's giving people courage to stand out more. And I think it'll make it worse for them than what they think.
Okay.
They think they're doing something good, but I don't think it's going to be good for them.
No.
And God always uses bad situations to his good in some way if we look for it. And I've had so many comments of the post I made yesterday, reading some verses, and man, it's just blown up. Like I've had so many comments and messages and texts and people that said, I'm haven't read my Bible in a while and I'm going to start. I just different things like that, and that's where these things can be used. And most of all, I hurt for his wife and his kids.
Yeah,
his
it's awful.
family. I mean, it's really bad.
Well, and like even the obviously disturbing for us as people who didn't even know him to watch. Like, can you imagine being his family and knowing that is forever ingrained in the internet or in their brain? Like, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I've never talked to the man in my life, but you watch somebody for so long and you understand them and believe their conviction, and then just in every setting the man ever was in, how he carried himself and how knowledgeable he was. I mean, he was a gift, dude. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that I've said this many times about him to people that didn't follow him. I said, man, you have to follow this guy. I said, you'll never see anybody that is so quick with facts and knows. Like, I mean, the dude spits facts like a machine gun.
Yep.
It's like he's a walking encyclopedia, or was. It was just incredible to watch the man.
In a respectful way. Like, that was the other thing.
He never was disrespectful. He gave everybody their chance to disagree and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy. That's the most mind-blowing thing. Like, not obviously, the attempts on Trump were, Trump says a lot of things. He's in a high political power area. Like, to a point, I understand why people wanted him gone, right? What was it besides Charlie rallying people and having conversations? Like, the dude was not a threat.
Yeah. Well,
at all.
Look at, this is my opinion. You got a couple different things. You either got, it is either somebody that just hates him so bad because of his beliefs and like how he doesn't agree with transgenders and he spits facts on shootings and all these things. Like, they either hate him so bad for that, or they, as a party, they know just how effective he is at turning people to the right. You know, I mean, the dude was in line to be president down the road, even though he had stated that that wasn't his goal. I guarantee you he would have been at some point.
At one point I saw they did, somebody did an in memory of him, maybe even this morning, but I think I saw it last night. And like, I immediately thought, like, we just lost a president. Like, that was my initial mindset of like, just because I'm like, he's a good guy, he seems fair, he's a good family man. He, like, I've never seen him like get mad or lose his temper. Like, he's put himself out to be so. I'm like, that we lost the president. That there it was. Like, whether that's 15 years from now or 20, I don't know, but like that's what it felt like.
Charlie, so this is what I always told my wife. I said, Charlie had every quality. He had every quality that Trump has and the ones that Trump is missing.
Yep.
And should have.
Yep. Agree.
You know what I mean? Like the respect, the not the name calling. He had that maturity as a 31-year-old man it just was incredible to watch. I mean, he was a gift from God for us the length of time we had him. I mean, he really was. And truthfully, like, I hope people never quit watching what he had to say, because he did have so much to say.
Yeah.
And it will make people watch and dig for a while. My brother said something interesting this morning. My brother's a preacher at a Baptist church in Georgia. But my brother said, God uses things like this, just like I had said. But he said, do you think that Martin Luther King would be as popular still today if he hadn't been murdered?
Probably not.
You know what I mean? And he said, so like with Charlie, this was the most shocking thing since, things like John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Like, this what he stood for will never be forgotten. It won't have the chance to be now because of the way this happened. And so that's something to look at. It still doesn't make it feel better, but I think my brother was right in that aspect. Certain people impact the world in different ways, and this was just, I don't know, this was Charlie's path, I guess, and it's sad, but, and it's angry. I mean, it's like, I was so angry yesterday, dude, and I didn't even know, you were the first one to alert me to it.
Yeah.
You were. Your text on my way home was the first one to alert me that something had happened. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I didn't realize that it was this serious. I didn't know
Me
he'd been
either.
hit. I thought it was an attempt.
That's what I didn't know at the time. Like they were just like he got shot, but like it did. There wasn't enough detail to like even know what happened or how serious it was or whatever. It was hours later before like the actual videos start rolling in, and you're like, yeah, he didn't make that.
Yeah. Yep. And the thing is too, it's like I had so many people start texting me later that I know are just good, solid men, dude, and they were shook. I mean, they
Yeah.
were pissed.
Yeah.
Like the one I had a buddy, he's like, dude, I'm in my garage just pacing. He goes, I do not know how to process this.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't take this anymore. Like, that's what they don't understand. Like, we are all at a spot. Like, if the left really wants this to happen, I think we're pretty much ready.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's the answer, but if they keep pushing, that righteous anger and their anger of just good, solid men is going to surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I personally like if it's politically charged, like I think everybody can like wrap their mind around that, and I'm sure that is a part of it. But like underlying, it seems like a pretty obvious and shocking, just evil. You know what I mean?
No,
it's like
100%.
And that I think is what's catching people off guard is like we don't see that kind of like a pure evil on display at a national level like that very often, you know. And when we do, like you said, you know, you see people turn to their Bibles and turn to faith, and there is good that comes out of it, you know, from that. But it's that to me is why it's so shocking.
I think what people don't understand, Jared, too, is, and me and Javin have a lot of these conversations. People do not really understand how real demonic forces and spiritual warfare truly is, even today. Like they don't really understand it because we don't see it in ways that like you've read about or that you see in movies. But I'm telling you, it's so more real than what people truly realize. We just are so numb to it. Like you just look at some of the things that have gone on in the world and okay, for instance, like yesterday, there was also that Minnesota school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They showed a picture that the kid had drawn. He had drawn this picture, and what it was him standing in front of a mirror, and in the mirror was a demon looking back at him.
Yeah. Well, I heard about
that was
this.
the reflection.
I think that was from the shooting last week.
The Minnesota
was it last
one?
week or?
It was not the one yesterday.
Yesterday was Colorado. The one last week.
Okay, yeah, it was Minnesota. Whenever it was the Minnesota school shooter.
Yeah,
I
heard that, and it was like help. It was like help me. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I'm telling you, dude. And this is the thing. Like, and people may think I'm crazy, but I just feel like I got to say this to the people listening because I feel like most people listening to this podcast have some kind of moral standings, whether they believe in God or not or whatever. But you know, if you're a hunter or you have some connection with the earth, you have connection with nature, you know there's a higher being of some sort.
With life and death, Ben, I think is what it is. We have respect for life. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like, as parents of children or as people, we can open the doors for those kinds of things to come into our lives and to our kids' lives. And that is why it's so important to be a parent that restricts your children from too much time on tech stuff. And like, you just can't let up on it. It's even worse today than it ever was. Like, there's just so much out there that can draw these kids into a pit of hell, like that poor kid, you know, that did this shooting. Like, he obviously was battling something.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be from who knows. Like, I'm just telling you, Satan is walking this earth just smiling. He's trying to bring everything he can out. And because he knows in the end he loses. Like, if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible and you believe what God's, you know, word, true living word is, we know in the end he wins, but it's not going to be fun until that happens. Like, you know, so I'm just saying, if you're a parent, man, you got to guard your kids' hearts and their eyes and what they see and who they're around. And like, you know, I'm not saying you put them in a box, but man, you just have to really stand up for what your kids are experiencing. You know, Javin's got a bunch of little kids too now, and I mean, you know, Javin believes the same I do in that. I mean, it's just really it's a hard thing, and I'm getting to that point where I'm voicing my belief more and more about it because I
Mm-hmm.
just care. Like I care about your souls. I care about your kids' souls. I want them to go to heaven. Like I want this earth is just so temporary, and the junk we deal with here is so temporary. Even though there's so much good here, but it is still just like it's like chaff in the wind. It's just small time
Yeah.
compared to eternity.
Yeah.
Well, I think this Charlie Kirk thing, and I think you mentioned it, Jared, before we got on about just you didn't expect it to shake you as much as it did. And I think most of us are in those exact shoes across the country. Like, I mean, that's how it is for me. Like, I didn't expect something like this to be so, impactful in my life. And just like I teared up on the way to the office this morning, just looking at the videos of like his kids running to him.
Mm-hmm.
That is me, dude, every time I get home. Like that's me. It doesn't matter am I gone for 30 minutes or am I gone for 4 days. Like my
Yeah.
kids, that's me. And that's deep. That goes deep. And there's so much like just the spiritual battle is real, but we need to be aware of it, but we can't be scared of it.
Mm.
And I think this is something that the devil uses this stuff or tries to use this stuff, and he thinks, oh, he wins that battle, but like Ben said, like it I think it lights a fire in a lot of us that it won't be stopped.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I was like sitting on the ab crunch machine at the gym is where I was when my wife texted me and sent me that video. And I felt, first of all, kind of gutted by it. Like because I saw the video first and I was just like, oh, that was hard. That was hard to watch. And I was in my mind, I'm like, if that's real, I was like, he's done. And then immediately after that, I was like, I felt so like not stupid, but I was like the things that I'm stressing about in this very moment. I'm like thinking about these real estate deals I've got to close. I'm thinking about these podcasts we got to schedule for tomorrow. I'm like, what good is any of that? I'm like, how silly of me to be, in the mindset about my own things I've got going on when like that it could be over,
And that's why I think, it's so important that we have to keep a balance. Like we can let deer, we can let jobs, money, we can let so many things be the focus of our life.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And it really doesn't mean anything in the long run. Doesn't matter how many big bucks I've killed.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much land you acquire. None of that's going to mean anything in the end, man. Like it just isn't, you know? And it's just, that's the heartbreaking part for, I'm blessed enough to feel like I've lived a good life. I've learned things. I've been able to, do things that I never thought I would do. But the greatest thing for me has been watching like the Lord work in my kids' lives, like my son and my, saving my one son from addiction, watching my daughter get baptized and develop a relationship with Jesus and change her whole attitude of life. And I'm not trying to breathe this religion down your guys' throat, but it's like, I love you two guys. Like I love you that much that I'm not afraid to say it anymore, dude. Like I don't care. I don't care what people think of me. I believe it. I've seen things. I've experienced things so deep with God that I know it was from him. You know what I mean? It's the only explanation. And I know it's real, and it's like I'm just not holding back anymore at all. I'm telling everybody that I see that asks, and God is using me in ways like that, and I pray that he does. And I don't always get received well, and I don't try to just shove it down people's throats. It's like I haven't made a post like I did yesterday in a while, and there was a guy that actually commented on one of the things, and it really hit me. And he says, when I saw that you had posted, and he goes, I saw that Bible in front of you. He said, I just started crying. He said, because I knew I was going to hear something I needed to hear. And those are the things that tell me, okay, this is what's important. And this is why I have this platform. It isn't necessarily to just go shoot deer and have sponsors, and there's more to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There just is.
Yeah. Well, we love you guys too, man. And we appreciate it. And it definitely does, like at this time of year, I think it can give us all some perspective going into this season. Deer hunters of all people. I mean, there's lots of things to get obsessed with. But deer hunting is certainly one of them. So and I'm guilty of it, right? And prioritizing it over relationships and all kinds of things, so now is probably the time to get that message. So
yeah, dude, I'm like, if I tell people this all the time, if I read my Bible and truly sought the Lord like I do deer, I would glow.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't be able to be around me. I'd be so righteous.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I admit
don't show us your face.
Yeah, it's like, you know what I mean? It's just so, but I think that's the thing. We just cannot comprehend. We truly, because I get asked this a lot, like, what do you think Kevin will be like? Do you think we'll be deer hunting? Do you think all these, I don't know. I can't answer that. But I can tell you this, like God made this earth in 6 days. He thought it, breathed it into existence, rested on the seventh. Imagine where he lives. I mean, there's verses that talk about, that the mind cannot comprehend what he has in store for those that love him, that truly love him and live for him. And, so I just can't, I think there's so many things that we won't be able to comprehend of what he does have in store. But I also believe that we'll be so enamored by his righteousness and his glory and that we may not even care about anything that we ever experienced here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Ben, I know we got a break here in a couple of minutes, so you can start this question and pick up where we left off. But like, how do you, I guess I would say like, so the pretense to the question would be like, I also believe that like our passion for hunting is like God breathed. I believe that we were created by God, and that passion comes from him, as do other people's passions for other things and stuff. And so I feel like there's a glorifying of God as we're doing what we were, like I feel like we were made to do, but also it can become an idol or an obsession. It's like, how do you kind of keep the two in check?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'll admit it is tough. Like, I think one is we have to be aware of it. I think if you're aware of it, that really helps. It's one thing if like you're not aware of it at all and you're not trying to, like, if you're not convicted at all, like say like obviously some of the people that are evil are not convicted by the sin that they're creating, or like, I'm convicted every time I say a cuss word, and I say plenty of them. I just, try to work on it.
Yeah.
But, the conviction of like cheating on your wife or your girlfriend and over and over again, like those are things that are like, and it's same with this. Like if you're not convicted by that, or that you feel like, man, I'm putting a lot of time into a hobby.
Yeah.
Or, something that, or, part of my living, but not all my living, or if you're ignoring your kids and your wife because you're going to go sit in a deer stand at some point, well, that gets excessive. I was fortunate, had a wife that really supported what I did, and, and it's turned into more than we ever thought it would, but I never sacrificed my family's well-being so I could go sit in a deer stand.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or
at least you were intentional about it. I mean, you were making every attempt not to do that.
Yeah. Now I'm not going to say that maybe I spent too much time at times chasing that dream instead of spending it raising my kids better than I did. Like I feel like I did a good job, but there were still areas that I feel like as a dad I could have done better. I could have related to my children better.
Yeah.
I think there's a maturity that obviously comes with that too. And in everything, it's hindsight is 20/20, right? And that's part of all of us becoming better humans, better dads. Like, same way. Like I look at it now and hell, I'm going to take my kids to Universal during the rut this year just because that's 3 or 4 days with my family having fun and doing something that, they'll have memories. They've been talking about it for months already. Yeah, right. In my younger days, I wouldn't be caught dead missing those days. Yeah. And, my hope is that my kids then can see that and say, yeah, we love to hunt too, but like, remember when Dad just took us in November to do that? And they do that with their kids because it'll be something that's extremely important and a memory builder for them and their kids. So, yeah, I think, as we mature as hunters as well, we realize where the value is in things. I mean, we all want to kill big bucks, but also I think the four of us could all say the camaraderie around hunting is an extremely important factor for us going into this season. You know, we've all probably also done it alone and look back and like maybe it was a great accomplishment. We shot a big buck, but then you look around and it's like there's nobody with you.
Yeah, that's right. No, I know. And I think one of the things I do too is I pray a lot for wisdom and guidance and knowledge. And I think as we age, we get more mature, we see things differently. And it's just like yesterday, I was so angry. I mean, I was really angry and thought things I shouldn't think. And then, you know, I prayed a little bit, I calmed down, and a little while later, God sent, you know, I feel like he put those verses on my heart that I'd read so many times, and I shared them on Facebook and Instagram. And I mean, they're going nuts. Like that post is going crazy. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, really going, it's doing God's work is what it's doing. Like it didn't come from me. I'd read it many times, but you know, it's got a gazillion views already. It's crazy. And the comments and the people, but you know, I feel like that seeking that wisdom and just seeking him, he changes you on his own. The Holy Spirit changes you as a person and you start to realize what's important, what's not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we still have to do our things and be successful but you know, we go at them in a different way.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked out as always.
Blacked out. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, you know, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. We just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
I think I would like to kind of to your question, Jared. There, I think there's all of us humans as a human soul, an eternal soul. I think there's a void in us, and this is how we were created. That there's only one thing that's going to fill that. And we try as a human race to do that so many different ways, whether it's any kind of addiction, drugs, hunting is one. Anything can, if we put anything in our life before God, then that's a void that we're not going to fulfill. And that's what anybody that's feeling that like it's real. And I think, I hope that an event like this, like how it's shaken us so much that people actually, you know, continue to seek that out and figure out how they can fill that void.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think that that would be like if people were to look at this and say, oh, it's purely like a political, and they view it solely through that lens, like it would just be, it would be a miss. Because I think it's so obvious that it's more that evil exposes, I think, maybe the evil or the void in all of us, you know, to be like, man, what are we doing here?
Well, and we're seeing it over, you know, we see it with that. We see it with the young Ukrainian lady who was stabbed on that subway in Charlotte. We see it with the school shooting yesterday in Colorado. We see that with the school shooting in Minneapolis a week ago. It's like it's pure evil, like pure evil. And maybe it is. Maybe it is tied to mental illness, right? Like there's no doubt in my mind that is a major issue, not in just this country, but in this world, right? Mental illness is something that is absolutely a problem, but
it's coupled with spiritual illness.
Yeah, it's translating. Absolutely. Like it's one thing, you know, like not to date myself, right? I'm 41, but like growing up, like I remember there were people with like mental illnesses, like they weren't well, but the violence side of things wasn't really like that wasn't the output that came from mental illness. Now that, you know, we consistently want to talk about mental illness, but the result or the reaction of it is it's pure evil that is just spouting from this. So sure, you can say that person's mentally ill, but it's pure evil that is coming out of it. Like, and I think those are two very different things that we have to process.
Well, that's the spiritual warfare that you're talking about. It's like a spiritual oppression over people. And maybe it is both or a combination or I don't know, one induces the other. But like, dude, I know people that like are definitely spiritually oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like they take medication for like mental illness, but, and I'm not there to judge. I mean, it's purely from a place of love. I want to see these people do well, but I'm like, that stuff's not helping you. Like it's just, it's numbing and clouding your mind to like what's really going on here. Like you're trying to diagnose the symptoms, but
that's the biggest thing. And I think at least I feel, so my kids are 13 and 9, right? So they're going into that age of like very influential, you know, I see these school shootings and it breaks me every time, you know, that I see it. And there's a weird sense, even with my own children, there's a weird sense of like non-reality that is happening out there. Like when I see these school shootings or even watching, you know, Charlie get shot yesterday, as real as that was, it wasn't either. Like I'm like, to our discussion, when we saw the close up, I was like, is that AI? Like there's no way that was like the literal, like that's really what was coming out of him at that very moment. And it was like, but it's because we live in a world that is so falsified because of AI and digital and everything else.
Do you remember? That's what I said. Like the day that I learned about ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like just the text portion of it, and we're so much further than that now. But the day that came out, I was like, text isn't real anymore.
Yeah.
It's over. Like there's nothing. We won't be able to know what is real from a humankind or not. And so that's evolved now. Just I don't know, months later, a short time to where now these videos, I'm like, so eventually nothing is real anymore. It can all be synthesized, and so none of us know what to believe.
A couple months ago, when we had the tragedy of all the flooding in Texas, and in that Christian camp of all those girls got washed away, heartbreaking. I remember on social immediately after, it was like there'd be videos of like Jason Aldean saves this girl from a tree, and it's all AI, and people absolutely were like, what a hero, this is amazing. And I'm like,
seriously,
it was everything. Country music did this
that's what I'm saying about the House of Rep things. Like all these things, is it real? We don't know.
We have no idea. And I think that we're raising an entire generation to where they're numb to reality. Like maybe it's real, maybe it's not. And I do, as much evil as in it, I think that some of these things, especially these younger kids doing the school shooting, there was one that got arrested that was 13 the other day. Thankfully, they stopped them before anything happened. I think they're living in a sense of fiction to where they can't discern what's real and what's not. So when they go out and do this, they're not even feeling like this is real, this is happening. Like they can't process it in their brain.
Yeah. Well, you think about from movies, like think about like back in the day, the movies, like I'm 10 years older than you are, Jeremy, so I'm dating myself. So if you go back and think about the movies that were out there, you know, that as a kid and what they've turned into now and the content that's in them and the vividness of
it's nuts.
Murder and like horror stuff. And, you know, I thank God all the time that I was raised in the family that I was, that I had a family that, you know, restricted me from certain things. Yes, you go to your buddies, you always sneak something in, or, you know, you watch a movie that's got some titties in it or something like that, you know, like I'm just being real. Like I'm just saying it, like, you know, but some kids have no restriction.
None.
From their parents.
None.
And this is their life.
Yeah.
This new VR stuff, these horror movies, these brutal video games, like
pornography,
it numbs their little skulls to the point as they're growing and maturing. Their brains are not able to develop to the point of like, you know, like we probably did, getting exposed to the outdoors and living in a rural area and different things. You know, they've never got to experience those kinds of things. And even some that have want nothing to do with it because they're so wrapped up in the digital world.
Yeah.
And truly, I believe it's a tool that Satan is using rampantly. You know, the internet technology and all that can be great, used for great things, but it also is being used for evil.
Mm-hmm. You literally can see it, Ben, generationally. So if like you're, you know, say 50 essentially, I think we have in our minds a perception of what media, what kind of like access you would have had to a digital space like that, where all those, goods and evils, lived. And then Jeremy, you're 10 years behind, and I'm almost 10 years behind Jeremy. And then I see my nieces and nephews and kids that, work for us at the shop and stuff, 10 years, and in some cases, 20 years? No, not quite 20 years, but 10 to 15 years younger than us. And it's just like every generation, you see that if you're going to call it the spiritual oppression but there is a correlation directly tied to access to all of those things online, and whether the parents are trying to limit them or not, seems like they are less and less. It's just,
even if they are though, dude, I can tell you first person, like it's frustrating with me. I mean, I yell at my kids daily because they'll lie to me about something like using an iPad or using their computer, and I'm like, I told you can't. Like as vividly involved as I am on trying to restrict them, they also have to have it for school. They have to turn in their homework there. Their only assignments are on there. Like, I can't take it from them. Like, if it was up to me, I'd throw them in a river and just be like, hey, listen, when you're 18, you can figure it out. But it is literally, they have to have it to do schoolwork.
Yeah. Well, and even us, I'm saying, and I'm the youngest of the three of us here, Javin, you and I are essentially the same age, but it's difficult for us to like differentiate between the two, or even just you catch yourself in a, like yesterday, I'm so encapsulated and we need all this stuff. It's technology to exist, but it's not the real world. That's what I think what we love so much about hunting season is that we have the opportunity at least to intentionally set it down and just, live in the real world for a little bit and try to have experiences with real people. But for kids, like with each increasing generation, it's just like, how do you even have any hope for them to do that? They don't know anything differently.
It's so easy for us to get sucked into that, and like you said, Jared, just even us as adults, like just our phones, walking around with our phones, and constantly, like, even it's hard to sit in traffic and not pick your phone up and check something. And sometimes it's even like you pick your phone up and you're like, well, what am I even looking at? What am I even looking for?
It's just
it's just a habit.
I know.
And we're all getting that.
Yeah, it's and I was gonna say, bringing the spiritual aspect into it again, like, dude, Satan or the evil spirits are walking this earth just looking ways to attach themselves into our lives one way or another, whether it's through medication. Like, I think that's an easy one for the spirits, the evil spirits, to attach themselves to. I don't think all this substances is not necessarily evil in and of itself, but it's easy for the spiritual, aspect of it to attach themselves to that. And that can be anything. That can be with our phone. That can be, it's just, we have to stay prayed up and stay vigilant to those kinds of things.
I think honestly what that is, Javin, and I mean, not to be insensitive to people who have real, chemical imbalances. Like, I got to believe that does exist. But I think a lot of times people are experiencing that void that you guys are talking about. And in their minds or in their hearts, they know that there's something wrong, something missing. And so when they get a diagnosis or a doctor says, well, yeah, you need this medication here, it's like an answer to something for a question that they were seeking on. And so it's affirmation of this issue with themselves that they, have been experiencing for so long. And so it's just, it can be really, really dangerous from that.
Well, it's us as humans trying to fix ourselves without God.
Exactly.
Without the spiritual.
We're trying to do everything on our own.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's such a tough topic or such a tough subject, Jared, because, like you said, like, you want to be sensitive to that. And I do think there's places and room for those, those medications, and it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, even from just kind of going back to the generational thing, it was like, when I was in school, if it was fall, it was football season. If it was winter, it was basketball season. If it was spring, it was baseball season. Like, you played whatever sport you played because it was that season. Like, you didn't have time to slow down into any of that. And, then add into the fact, like, if we did have free time, you were hunting and fishing. Like that. There were many times that I guarantee you asked my parents, like, if I wasn't hunting and fishing and so obsessed with it, I would have gotten myself in a hell of a lot more trouble. And, if I look at that now, number one is most of the kids, if they are doing sports, you're married to one sport all year. And it's because if you don't dedicate your entire year to it, you're not making the team or you're not succeeding. Like, that's what's been bred into these people. And then on top of that, because of the demands that are with that, most of the time hunting and fishing doesn't have a spot in that because there isn't time to do it. So, you know, when you look at those kind of changes that we've seen in society, yeah, I mean, and again, it's like anything, it's technology and all of this stuff. It's like, I don't know if the cat's too far out of the bag. And I mean, you know, you've got to parent hard, but is that even a thing? Is that even capable of doing that? You know, you're going to have to pick and choose some sacrifices for your kids, unfortunately. Like I told my kids straight up, like if you love soccer, that's great, but I'm not a travel parent. We're not going to travel all across the state. We're not going to be playing soccer 9 months out of the year. You're going to play soccer in the fall for a few months and in the spring for a few months. And other than that, we hunt and fish. Like that's what we do as a family.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the world has become so busy, you know, and it's like every sport, it's like, it's almost like for these kids today, it's like every parent thinks their kid's going to be the next Joe Namath.
Oh, I know.
You know, and, you know, it's like, dude, it's just such a distraction. And it's like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sports because there isn't. But it's like everything, you know, it's the balance that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like you said, you know, play a little baseball, then you got to play a little football, you got to do some basketball, you know. It was like, you know, and I remember in my school, like it was a small school, but there was a few kids that were always the best at it all the time. Like every sport, they were just athletic.
Yeah.
They were just good athletes.
Yep.
You know, my buddy Jake could throw a ball 90 mile freaking an hour, like in high school.
Yep.
You know, or more. You know, I mean, he had all kinds of opportunities until he hurt his shoulder, but he could play basketball just as good. He could smash people in football just as good.
Yep.
And throw a ball. He played quarterback, then he played defense. Like he was just good at everything he did. Kids like him, yes, they might have that chance, but most kids are not going to be professional ball players, you know. And I watch these parents at these games, like, because I go to some of my friends' kids' games, or now I got a granddaughter that's like 9 and she plays soccer. And I didn't see it so much there this year, but like you hear and you see these people that are like freaking out.
Oh yeah.
In the stands over a call that an ump made at a little league game. You know, like losing
nuts.
Their minds.
Yeah. The ball's still on a tee, dude. Calm down.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's insane, but, you know, that's like pushing your kid out of the blind because he missed a deer, you know, or screaming at him, you know, or whatever, and like belittling him. Or
it's so easy to do, though. It's so, because those people are so invested into that. I mean, it's same as for us about, you know, property lines and dealing with other, you know, neighboring hunters and different stuff. Like it's so easy for that stuff to creep into our lives. And we just have to guard ourselves from that. But I think, Jared, you made a point earlier about like, God puts specific things or desires or specific, you know, passions into our life. And I think that's so true. And sometimes I think that's something that everybody should look for, and God's calling on their life. But I think sometimes we can put too much emphasis on that, because like we can't just live a Christian life and do nothing. Like you have to have a conduit, you know, to live out your life in one way or another. And for some people, like you said, that is hunting.
If not a passion, called a gift. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. And for some people that is hunting. And absolutely, I think, you know, for Ben, that's what it is. And for not just Ben, but for all of us, like, and it could be your job, it can be whatever you're doing, you know, just allow God, or allow your life to be a conduit in that way for anything that you're doing.
I mean, I look at like, just like your guys' platform, like what it's turned into, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you guys, you know, Jeremy's done Stone Road for a long time. He's been in the media marketing business a long time. You know, Jeremy to me is like a dumber version of Charlie Kirk. No offense.
No,
but you are like, you know, I mean, you're a very intelligent guy. Like I've always looked up to Jeremy in that aspect because he's very smart. He knows a lot of things. I mean, to this day, I still text Jeremy and ask for help at times, you know. But there's, you know, you guys have created a platform too that you can reach so many people, and for you to not deny the chance to talk about these things, you know, you will not ever regret that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It may turn some people off that watch you, but those people that it will turn off are people that are being convicted.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know, like they feel it. They just don't know how to deal with it. Like, man, because I get those hate comments at times too, like, talking about God or this, or God didn't help you kill that deer,
Yeah.
or things like that. And, like, why are you thanking Jesus because you just shot a buck, or things like, well, sorry, you don't understand, but he's the creator of all things. Like, I mean, he decides when everything lives and dies. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And I've said it for years, either when it's your time to kill a deer, there's nothing you can do to stop it, and there's nothing you can do to make it happen. I feel like I killed one of the biggest bucks of my life and dropped my binoculars out of my tree 5 seconds before he showed up, thinking I'd ruined the hunt, and they banged off the metal steps. Ding, ding. I'm like, I'm screwed.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have, only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yeah. I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator. So Ben, explain thought process, because we've all been there. I for sure I have been. You just explained that you believe, that there's a hand in all of that. I mean, do you sit there and pray literally, like, hey, just send me a buck, or has the prayer prayer changed? Has it changed over time? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So let's talk about that. I'm glad you asked that. I never pray that God will send a buck my way. Like, can you send me a 220-inch deer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever pray that way. I pray that his will be done, whatever it is. But I also just pray that, like, whatever happens, I will glorify you through it, whether it's good or bad. I promise that I will do that. Like, there's been times I've been struggling, and, and I've said some prayers in that sense of, like, help me to keep my morale up, man, like, I kind of talk to him almost like a buddy, like, dang, dude, I'm putting my time in here. Like, I'm meeting you halfway, and this isn't working out. What's going on? Like, I'm a pretty good hunter, and this ain't working. Like, can you help me open my eyes to what I'm doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a hunt, I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2018. I was in Illinois, and we were after a deer there. And you'd have to go back and watch that hunt, but it's on there. But that was a time where I had said a prayer, and it was like God instantly answered it.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Like, and we had been grinding, but I'd been on the road a long time. I really wanted to go home. And there was a certain deer, and we decided to stop back in because this deer had daylighted a time or two. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to this one spot, and I'm going to sit it out because I know that this is where they'll walk through. If he's going to walk in daylight, he's got to come through here at some point. I should be able to see him at a distance or something. And we got in the tree, drove all the way back, and I'd hunted that same farm like 3 days in a row all day long and had no success. I'm trying to remember how it all played out, but we went to another state. I think we killed, and then I came back, and it was in the afternoon. We'd stopped and ate breakfast, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to relax a little bit. We stopped at a restaurant, ate breakfast, climbed in the tree at like 1 o'clock. I believe it was. And I sat down, and I was just tired, man. I was wore out. And I just started praying, and I said, God, I said, this has really been a grind. And I said, you've done some amazing things this year. I said, I really want to go home. So I want to fill this tag. And I said, I promise that I will glorify you. If you decide to do something good for me, I will make it happen. I said, but if not, I accept your will. I said, and now, it is what it is. And I just said, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for my health and being able to sit in this tree stand and have this opportunity to have whitetail edge and all the good things around me. For Tanner, the kid that was filming me at the time, sitting there with me, and we had a great couple weeks. And dude, I'm telling you, I said amen. And I hear something, I look to my right, and there's my target buck walking at 10 yards right in front of me. And I plug him. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I've had so many little things like that. Like I talked about this at Lancaster last year. I did a seminar in front of a bunch of Amish and Mennonite people, and they wanted me to come back already because what I talked about. But I gave some of my experiences like that, of just things that's why I know God is real. Like I was saying earlier, I've experienced things that I absolutely know that he wanted something good for me. He doesn't always answer our prayers in yes or no. Like he answers always. Just the answer may not always be what we want to hear.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And, but praying, it's not wrong to pray for certain things, but I feel like if you're walking in his rhythm, he wants to bless you, but he also is going to try you at times to keep you close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because have you ever noticed that it's the same people that never believe in God or say that God isn't real, but the second something bad happens, they're blaming God?
Yep.
It's just like Jeremy said yesterday. You made such a good point about like the left. They're always the ones screaming for gun reform, but it seems like it's always the left where the gun violence comes from on the horrible stuff, mass shootings and school shootings and things like that. Like it's just, but, and Javin will probably have a good input on it too, but I've always learned to talk to God. And I know when I'm not walking in rhythm with him because my life is harder.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think I'm trying to navigate some of that too personally. And I do think that we want to be careful how we say it because we don't want to be these, that kind of plays into a prosperity, kind of gospel. Well, if I, pray and I give to the church and I do this, I'm going to shoot giant bucks.
Sure.
Like, yeah. That's not at all what we're trying to do. And I think that's something that God's been working on me in. And like even back to like this last season, like I grinded hard on that one specific deer. And I prayed specifically that morning that I was just like, God, just let me see him. Like, just let me, like, give me something. Like, give me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he walked into 10 yards and I didn't get a shot.
Yeah.
Like that's
why the prayers need to be specific. I have learned that. They have a ball that said, let me see him, let me
in a shooting
let me
lane.
arrow him with 2 lugs, let him die there.
I said it I said it in the tree right there on video. I was like, dude, like I prayed that we would get to see him, and look what just happened.
Yeah, there you go.
And,
yeah.
And I think we do really just want to advocate though, like just connect spiritually with God. Like just like Ben said, like if you're walking in the spirit, like dude, the woods is no better place. There's no better place to connect than just personally in the woods.
I would have to guess that almost every single, at least bow hunter, if I just say hunter in general, has had a moment in the woods where they've prayed for a specific scenario. Like everybody, you just find yourself in that scenario. You're like, I'm in God's creation here. I'm chasing a magnificent beast. Who hasn't had it at least cross their mind that I'm gonna pray for something to unfold here, and also found themselves in a situation where they're like maybe almost humbled because it's like, who am I? Like I'm like how dare I even pray that? I've thought that, I'm like, I'm such a sinner, how could I pray for something like that, But.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the balance of we can't be selfish about it, and I think I never want to ask God for something that I would still not glorify him if he doesn't answer the way that I want him to.
Sure.
And I think that's
Yeah.
you
Well,
touched
it's
on
like
it.
there's it's in Matthew, I'm pretty sure, where Jesus is talking and he says, if you pray in my name, it will be given to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if you ask in Jesus' name, like, he will answer your prayers. But what I think a lot of people don't understand too, though, is when he's talking to his disciples about that, it's not like, oh, in Jesus' name, would you supply me with a brand new car?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you're walking in the Spirit, your desires are different.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
what you desire and what you feel is important are totally different things than what if you're not. Like,
Yep.
you don't pray for material things. You pray for your daughter to be saved. You pray for your son to get off drugs. You pray his hand in helping your family, helping you become the man that your family needs because you messed up, or you pray for health if he's willing to, heal somebody that may need it. Just like you've probably seen, heard some of our stuff here recently where a good friend of mine, his daughter Cairo, we did a podcast with her. She was battling cancer. She ended up passing away, but Joe's outlook on it was so refreshing and touching because he gets it. Like, he lost his daughter, his only daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He will never have grandchildren, but him and his wife understand. They get it, but God just didn't answer their prayers the way they wanted, but he also answered prayers in other ways that Joe can talk about that is so touching, makes you bawl on your knees,
Yeah.
of things that have happened since she's passed just a couple weeks ago. It's, having faith, and that's what Christianity is to us these days, because it's faith in Jesus. Like, we believe this because we have that faith. We haven't seen him ourselves. He's never exposed himself to us. It's like, it's like Jared was saying about prosperity. Like, those are preachers you have to be a little bit aware of. Like,
Right.
prosperity preaching is not
Yep.
really a great thing. But it's just one of those things. Like, I'll give you a quick example. And I'm not trying to like take your whole podcast into this religious thing, but I was coming home from Iowa a few years ago, and I was on the phone with my buddy Dan, and I knew I needed to get fuel, but I kind of forgot about it. We get to talking on the phone, and you're driving home late at night,
Mm-hmm.
and I was coming back from a hunting trip, unsuccessful one, and pulling a trailer and whatnot, and I had a diesel. And all of a sudden, my dinger goes off, and I'm like, oh, I got to get fuel, man. Dang, I forgot. Well, I mean, there was nowhere. And finally, I get close to Peoria, Illinois, and I pull off this busy intersection. I saw there was a gas station there. I'd looked on the map, and it only showed one station. And I'm like, all right, it's right here close to the highway. It's going to have diesel. My truck goes into limp mode on the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that low. It's like,
Yep.
In a diesel, you can't run out. You run out,
Problems.
you got problems. I limp into this gas station. They have no diesel fuel pumps. I'm like, what am I going to do? My truck won't even start back up hardly at this point. Like, it won't let me. And I'm sitting there, and my heart's going, and I'm like, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So instant thing I do is I call a tow company and like, hey, I don't need a tow, but can you send somebody over here? Because I went into the gas station and they're like, they didn't even have gas cans to where I could walk to a fuel station. The closest fuel station was 4 miles away that had diesel.
Yep.
And the lady on the phone at the tow thing couldn't even understand what I was trying to say. It was some conglomeration of a tow company that had a foreigner talking. And finally, I just got frustrated and hung up. And I'm sitting there. So I prayed about it. I said, God, I have faith. I know that you will fix this for me. You'll help me figure this out. I said, just send somebody to help me if you would, please. Because like, this stinks. It's 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. It's day before Christmas Eve. And I said, I got to get home. And, I can't sit in this truck all night. Nobody's here. And this gas station's busy. There's people in and out, And I was like, all right, I'll just go ask somebody for help. And I said, amen. And I said, you'll send somebody my way. I just know you will. And I have that much faith that somebody's going to help me. I get out of my truck. I start walking towards the gas pumps. I'm just going to ask somebody for help. There's 7 different cars pumping gas. And I see this guy in a Carhartt coat, like a vest, and he's got a beard. And I'm like, that's the guy I'm picking. So I walk up to that guy. I get freaking 10 feet from this dude. He looks up and he goes, "You're Ben Rising." Are you freaking kidding me? Come on. Out of freaking 10,000 people in Peoria, 20,000 people in Peoria, there were.
Oh, yeah.
And this dude's pumping gas at the same time I need help. He's like, "My name's Paul." I'm like, "Paul, I'm Ben Rising for sure." I said, "And I need your help." And that dude and his girlfriend drove me around that night. They spent 35, 40 minutes with me, getting me a gas can, going to a fuel station, bringing me back, and filling my truck, waited for me to get it running.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that was God.
How funny.
Like, that was a small miracle, just a small fraction of
God's like, "Ben, you've been praying for wisdom this whole time to fill up your truck." I gave you what you
and
asked
that's
for.
the point too, Jared, that I think is worth making. Like, you can't just like anything else, you can't sit back and be lazy and be like, "Well, just bless my bank account,
Right.
just and we're just gonna." That's prosperity.
Right.
Like, you got to earn it, you got to work for it, and like Ben said a lot of times, like, work for it. And he'll meet you in the middle, and you got to look for those little touches. Like, I think so many times, like, God is in doing different things, and he has angels protecting us in so many ways. And if we're just not looking for it, it's easy to miss. And if you actually start going down that road, you realize how much of a presence this spiritual realm has, and it's very active, in our lives every day.
And side note, I did give Paul, I walked into my trailer and I gave him a brand new set of sticks and a brand new Novix Echo stand that night for Christmas.
He was rewarded.
Pumped. Yeah, he was pumped. But quick too, like, the infamous scissors deer that I shot that everybody thinks is one of they're the best hunt I ever did or whatever, one of the favorite episodes. Me and Javin that morning, because Javin's the one that filmed that, that morning we stopped and we got out of the truck and I said, "Let's just say a prayer." And we didn't pray anything about deer. We didn't pray for scissors or anything. It was just, we prayed for our families. We thanked God for the time we had to be out there. We prayed for there was something going on. Wasn't it in Haiti or something at that time?
I don't remember.
There was something going on, some, distress somewhere in a foreign country. We prayed for those people. We just prayed for those less fortunate. And dude, we whacked scissors at 8:30.
Yeah.
You're like, Lord, I'm telling
you.
you, man, like, it's just hard to explain to people that don't, I'm not saying that you're not going to be rewarded, because even the Bible says that even those that don't believe will be successful and rich and things like that. But in the end, they don't have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Gates, I don't think he's a believer. But in the end, he's going to realize that Jesus Christ was real, and it's all going to fade away. Like, that's the truth. I mean, this quote I say all the time, and I read it about 2 years ago, and man, it stuck with me more than anything I've ever as a father. And it said, the greatest thing you can leave your children is a relationship with Jesus Christ. It isn't land, it isn't money, it isn't deer, it's that one thing, because we will all be together again. If you believe this and you walk that path, we will all see each other again in heaven. Like, we just will. We'll be we'll have new bodies. Like, we won't be old, frail, but we will have new bodies. We will be, we will know each other. Like, I mean, it's the way it's going to be. Like, so that's something to look forward to. Like, when somebody dies, like when Joe's daughter, Cairo, died, yes, it hurt. When my mother died, it hurt, but we know where she is.
Mm-hmm.
We know where Charlie Kirk is right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part about being at like the funerals of non-believers. I think it's like, because everybody's gonna say that, everybody wants to believe, like, well, we'll see that person again, or they're in a better place. But sometimes if you know these people, it's like, we never know somebody's heart fully, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And and you don't want to be rude. Like my brother told me this morning, he goes, "Ben, do you realize," he goes, "there's 100 He goes, there's been a study, like, he goes, the most recent numbers through the church's studies is there's 165,000 people a day that die that don't know Jesus Christ or don't believe, or, you know, that's a lot of souls.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
I mean, you'd think hell would be getting full, but it ain't. You know what I mean? And the Bible talks about how narrow the road is to heaven, how narrow it truly is. Just because I may not make it. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, there will be many people that'll stand in front of Jesus Christ and he'll say, you know, do away because I don't know you. You know, like you did all these things in my name, but yet I don't know you because you didn't really have a personal relationship. Like you did it for other reasons, like these prosperity preachers and different things like that, you know, they're using the gospel. It's just like, I feel like every time that something like a Charlie Kirk or there's some bad news event, so many people rush to social media to make posts, but it's for their personal gain.
Oh yeah.
It's not about and that's why I really, yesterday I was afraid to post, but then when I felt like the Holy Spirit laid these certain words and verses upon me, then I felt moved to post that, because I was like, this isn't for my personal gain or Whitetail Edge's gain or whatever. I'm not making light of Charlie's murder to help me. It's, you know, and God is blessing that post. It's going crazy, but that's the one thing I hate, are these videos where people are doing good for somebody and they film it all the time. Like their good deed. You know, the Bible says, do not let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. Do it from your heart. Like, you know, if Jeremy does something good for his neighbor, he doesn't have to blast it to everybody. Yeah, I helped my neighbor buy a new car because he couldn't afford it. I'm a great person. You know what I mean? It's the ones that are rewarded the most are the ones that do it in secret. Yeah. The Bible even says that, man. Like it's fine to be public about doing, like, having fundraisers, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, if you're just going around and you're giving a homeless guy $20 or $100 or this or that, and you got to tell everybody you did it every time you did something good for somebody, that's the wrong motive. That's not coming from your heart. That's coming because you want self-glorification.
You're campaigning. You're looking for attention. Yeah.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah.
We've all seen that. It's distasteful.
There's a lot of it out there. Most of it, unfortunately. You know, even yesterday, like just all the stuff around Charlie. I mean, I would assume probably half of the posts that I saw were more self-glorification than any respect to him and his family.
Well, I mean, we're trying to hit that viral, you know, algorithm, because
exactly
that's where it's at. You know,
that's what's important to the world right now.
Nobody posting that close-up shot did it in respect to Charlie and his family.
Oh, absolutely not.
None. And it's just like, yeah, you see it all the time. I mean, you see it in hunting too. You know, it's look at the amount of hunting posts that are put out there of like, look what I'm doing, look what I'm doing, look what I did. And it's, you know, none of it is like to really share in everything that you have and the experience and the relatability to other hunters. It's purely self-glorification.
Yeah.
You know, and that's and it's a fine line too, right? Like, I get it. I've probably been there of like posting a buck that I killed and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. At the same time, maybe my intention was because I was alone and I wanted to include people. Like, I wanted to be around people. But easily somebody could take that as self-glorification of like, you know, they're just bragging about it.
Well, and so like for me, I look at it like with people like you or, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, your platform is hunting.
Yeah.
And deer, and, you know, so you post a lot about that kind of stuff. So to me, I never would take it that way. It's the guys that always hammer me or whatever and be like, you're just a trophy hunter and blah, blah, blah. And then you look at their profile, they never post anything until they kill a buck or catch a big fish or a turkey.
Yeah, I
you know?
Yeah, I know.
And that's the first picture that you see.
It's still the 10-year-old profile picture.
Yeah, like, wait a minute. But, you know, most guys aren't that way, or like saying that they're hammering you for bragging or whatever. But there are those ones that are just, they can't handle it. They're just jealous and they just, you know, but, you know.
Well, not to change pace too much, but Javin, I know you were there and you were there at the Ohio Hunters Advocate of Ohio meeting. To that point, you know, obviously a lot of the things that Hunters Advocate of Ohio is doing, I would say are contended by, you know, different groups, different sides of people. I mean, you said there was like, what, 150 plus people there?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, did you guys feel that everybody was on the same page? Was there anybody there for pushback on things that are being done?
No, I mean, my sense was that, and I didn't get to talk to every single person, but I felt like a lot of people were there because they wanted to see some sort of change, which meant they were experiencing some sort of, challenge or thing that they, something they're unhappy with, in the state. And so, and it could be a plethora of things. I mean, issues that were discussed ranged from, baiting, weapon inclusion, specifically crossbows, non-residents, partaking in, in the thing there. And those being kind of like at the top there, maybe with some subliminal stuff there. But my sense was that, and it was a heavily weighted Amish crowd. I would say probably because of the location, it was in Millersburg, which is, I mean, predominantly those are the folks that live in that area. So 90+% attendance was Amish in that. But yeah, that was my sense on the, why they were there.
And
you will find too, though, Jared, this is my personal opinion. I think if that was held anywhere else, I mean, you'll get a turnout, but I bet you don't get the same turnout from just us normal people that you would from the Amish.
Yeah.
And things like that.
I think the Amish are still a lot more rooted into genuine, they really care and take the time to do things. I feel like a lot of what the DNR struggles with is not having enough people, taking the time to come to their meetings. And I feel like that's something that everybody's just too busy and, well, we can't make a difference anyway. And so let's just not go. And I feel like that's a different culture yet in the Amish. So
interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Well, dude, there was so many of them that voted this year that don't even vote.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was a huge part of it.
They started to vote because they wanted change.
Well, I guess that's what I was, knowing that it was heavily Amish. Like, was there voiced opinions from them? Like, are they opposed to baiting? Do they care about non-residents? Like,
yeah, I think they care about all those things.
Yeah.
I think, with I think there was between 150 and 175 people. I think with that many people, like, you're going to have different opinions, right? What it should actually look like. And we did a little survey of how that could look as far as, what specifically, what does it look like to not have any baiting? Like, can we feed during the summer? Can we, and there was variations, obviously, across all those surveys, but I would say, I haven't gotten all the data yet, but I would say at least 75%, were agreement of let's supplemental feed and not feed during the season.
Interesting. Yeah, I wondered just how that feedback comes. Like, I think it was Tuesday night, I was on the EHD CWD presentation that the Ohio DNR did, which was live, but like, at least to my knowledge, like, you couldn't comment or do anything. Like, you were just basically watching their presentation. And Clint, the deer biologist, did a really good job, especially on the EHD side, of kind of tying in like the perfect storm that's happening in Southeast Ohio, and even highlighting since 2017, the maps and the cases of where you see these things have happened. And, that all said, like, you didn't have a platform to like ask questions or hear what people were thinking, which was kind of the entire reason I jumped on there. It's like, I understand why we've got EHD and I understand where it's happening. I wanted to hear more from like just everybody else. Like, what were they seeing? And, were they trying to figure anything out? What was the frustrations? I mean, they basically asked everybody that was listening to kind of self-restrain on harvesting does in those areas. And I'm like, well, frankly, they don't kill does anyways down there. Like, they're just shooting bucks over a corn pile. But like, should there be more than just asking self-restraint? Like, should it be from the Ohio DNR to say, hey, listen, we're knocking you back to one tag or whatever?
Restraint, I thought this was pretty interesting. Javin, I don't know if it was you that brought it to my attention or something, or maybe it was Kevin pointed out that the DNR is issuing pamphlets with license sales this year to basically make people aware of the potential the downsides to baiting. So,
what?
Yeah, so they're trying to inform the public of, and I don't know what's on there. I didn't get that when I bought my digital license or whatever, but
interesting.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that seems like a waste of taxpayer dollars. Like, you're gonna have to legislate something,
Yeah. Huh.
Jeremy, in the meeting, were they saying that the heavy root cause in some of those areas? So like, we've had some, two of my logging crews have been south.
Yep.
We've had some big jobs bought down there around just south of Athens towards Coolville, places like that.
Yeah. No, yep.
And they're getting hammered with dead deer. But what we dealt with a lot in early July was just lots of rain.
Yep.
I mean,
Correct.
days we couldn't even work.
Yes.
Like shut down, roads washing out, like golly washers.
Golly washers.
And there was mud puddles everywhere, and then it just quit raining. Is that what they're saying is the cause because of all those stagnant water holes everywhere?
The three big factors that he went over, and I thought he did a fantastic job with it, was number one, higher than average spring temperature, which we were about 3 or 4 degrees above the average this spring. Number two was higher than normal rain in July specifically. In those areas, you talk about Athens, Washington County, I think the average he said was like 4.7, and they were at like 8.7 for July. To be honest, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues on my Meigs County farm. We only got 5.2 inches in July. Like it was, those storms were extremely heavy, but they were very spotty with where they came through. So 3 miles from me may have got an inch of rain. I didn't get anything, right? Like it missed by that much. And then the last factor was August, basically rain was non-existent, right? The average is 3 inches. We got 0.2 or 0.3. So like those three things were the perfect storm aligning in really eastern Meigs, Washington, Athens, and Morgan County so far.
Yeah, and it makes sense because that's where, like, close to my one logging job, they had a bridge washed out on the road.
Yep.
It rained that hard in July.
Yep. And like I said, I went back onto my farm because I have like this little rain gauge thing, and I'm going through and I'm like, I got maybe an inch more than average, but is that my saving grace? I don't know, right? Like I have all of the deer except I've got 2 5-year-olds that typically go a little bit dark on me at this time, but all of my 4-year-olds, most of my 3, like I'm seeing all of these deer. I was there last week. I didn't find any dead deer, knock on wood, so I don't know. Maybe that was my saving grace, is that I at the time I was hoping to get those rainstorms, right? I needed them for plots and stuff. But in retrospect, like not getting them may have been what saves me from not having EHD on that farm severely, at least.
Ben, how severely are you guys droughted out, like in your immediate area right now?
It's pretty dry up here, man. Like my plots aren't doing nothing.
Dude,
Yeah,
mine. So I'm just east of you. I think like an hour or two. We are. I mean, for sure, the worst drought we've ever seen in this 8 or 9 years that we've had it. My brassica plots that I planted third week of July are literally dust. There's nothing in them. I think we're between a half and maybe 0.6 in. Are we 8 or 9 weeks now at this point? I mean, it's bleak.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
We got a shower. One shower last week?
Yeah,
we caught that also.
We
caught that
We didn't
too.
get much of it.
That was
rain
0.2
for a
of my
couple hours,
0.6.
but it was really light, and it soaked it up so fast.
Oh, dude, it was gone.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Mountain Tough.
Man, as everybody knows, physical fitness is super important to both you and I, Jared. And so whether it's training for the Badlands so that we can pack out a muley or our weekly whitetail hunts, the thing that we don't want is to be a big piece of shit in the woods this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, even just in our daily lives, whether we're planting food plots, running our businesses, spending time with our family, we just want to feel good. And that all starts with physical fitness.
Yep. So this year we're partnering with the Mountain Tough app, cool new app that you can go in. You can do rucking, you can do weighted vests, you can do minimal gear. But basically the app has both coached and self-guided courses, anything and everything you need to be mentally and physically tough for this hunting season.
And so right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on the Mountain Tough website. That's mtntough.com. It does have to be the website. It can't be either of the app stores to get that discount applied. You get a free 2-week trial anyway, so anybody can go on and use that. But while you're signing up, use that code HUNTR. You'll get an additional free month after that trial period to use the app. That's a total of 6 weeks. That's a huge savings.
So this season, get Mountain Tough. Going back on the DNR thing, the one thing that Clint did say is so far they've had over 5,000 reports. That is the greatest amount of EHD reporting that they've ever recorded. I loosely use the term 10 times that. So, there's probably 50,000 plus deer that are dead it would be really interesting to see like where, because I have heard of people in these, like, I mean, what you want to call a hot zone, and they're like, yeah, I haven't found anything dead. I'm still seeing my bucks. Like, you know, it is very spotty. It's not like the entire county is wiped, but there are definitely certain farm conditions, whether that's cattle, whether that's ponds. What Jared and I talked about, the rivers, as those rivers rose, and then, you know, that all kind of starts to suck its way back, and you've got these estuaries that are just dried out. Like, I believe those are going to be more of these areas that you're having bigger and bigger issues, and you're going to continue to have them. Like, even we actually caught 0.8 last week down there when that storm came through. Well, all that did is like remud some of these areas. Mm-hmm. Like, it didn't do anything long term for them.
Doesn't get the creeks flowing. Yeah, it doesn't last long. I think a question that I would have, and something too to look at as far as a study is in some of these hot spots or hot zones that completely, you know, eradicated pretty much the herd. Is anybody or are people feeding in low spots? Because I feel like the hot spots for that midge are in that mud or in the water. Yeah. And from my understanding or my research is, though, that midge does not travel more than 100 or 200 yards from where it hatched.
No.
And so if you're pulling those deer into those hot zones, then your herd is cooked if you get it.
Yep.
Versus if you're maybe feeding on ridges or away from those zones where the midge can actually, go back and forth.
Agree. Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think obviously if you're intermingling with cattle, that's a big one, because cattle are a vector as well to carry it too. So if you're talking about cattle ponds or whatever happening in that side, the biggest thing I think as we kind of start to look at that, and they, he did a really good job. So I think it was Jefferson County, so Eastern Ohio, in 2017 got really smoked with EHD. And I want to say Clint said in either 2019 or 2020, the population essentially had rebounded to pre-EHD levels. And at this point, it's extremely high above it. There is a point there, I think, that from whether you're talking about that population or whatever, that Mother Nature recognizes and sets back. And especially where we were in Southeast Ohio and where all this is happening, we had extremely high deer densities. Again, like I said, people aren't killing does. Like, there are does all over the place, especially in the agricultural areas. I have to believe that we were at a tipping point there, and in some of these areas that they're seeing massive die-offs is probably because the density was so high.
If we could tell Mother Nature to not touch the bucks, just
that's right. Selective harvest. Mother Nature.
Yeah, just pick those ones. Not that one.
But that is a question, I guess, Jeremy, for you though. When did EHD first surface? What was the first year that was even something that was looked at?
So I mean, I've been involved with it since 2007 in Mississippi, and it had been there many years prior. Same with Texas.
It was the 70s, right, in Colorado?
Yeah, that was CWD.
Oh, I see.
Yep. For us, like in the Midwest and Northeast, at least, 2012 was the first year that we all really experienced it. Missouri got smoked that year. Southwest Pennsylvania got smoked that year. Iowa got smoked that year. So it was really 2012 was kind of the first real time that we saw it rear its head through the Midwest and Pennsylvania included in that.
Do you feel like, or is there anything that is maybe causing, is it what we're spraying on the crops, or is it there any studies that really show any valuable intel on what causes the beginning of it?
I don't think so. I mean, there's lots of theories. We are in a warming climate. Right? Like, if you think about when we all grew up as kids, like, we don't have nearly as harsh of winters as we used to have. It's not like, I mean, when's the last time you remember having 12 to 14 inches of snow on the ground for more than a week? Like, we haven't had them. And so I think that's a huge factor in that side of things.
That one I do think would be worth looking at. I mean, you could easily go back in these areas that are getting hammered right now. Granted, it won't be like a generational, over a decade type of a study, but you could look last year and say, hey, are these areas in southeastern Ohio, did they not have as harsh a winter as where we're having now? You could look back at these factors. The rainfall was the other one that I think
warmer
we're
than
seeing.
spring. I mean, we tie them back. So, the biggest thing that we don't know, right, is, like I said, in 2007, we had a really, really bad outbreak in Mississippi when I was there. And that was the first year I ever even heard of this thing and had ever been around it. We lost a lot of deer, but I also watched half of the deer get it and survive. They look like hell. And they made it through, right? That's where you get those like slipper hoofs essentially that start kicking out, right? They survive. Those deer in the South are getting it every year, and most of them are getting a chronic form that they get over, right? They don't feel good, but they make it through. Everything that we see up here, at least for most of the time we've been exposed to it, is an acute form, which 24 to 48 hours, that thing is dead. Goes from healthy to dead like that. But we are starting to get some resistance built, right? It's just like anything, as the more the herd is exposed to it, the more resistance builds. The problem is like if you looked at Clint's maps in Ohio, and this could be anywhere, is like let's say Athens County, which is getting smoked right now. Well, the last time Athens County really got hammered was in 2019, I think. So you're talking about 6 years difference. Well, the deer that are experiencing it now probably were not alive in 2019 to be exposed to it then, right? So when you have these big generational jumps, I think that you're having a tougher time build resistance to it because you go entire generations or more without any exposure to the disease. Whereas in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana, like every year, every other year, these deer are getting hit with it. The resistance is building faster because they're being exposed to it more frequently. Now, I would assume at some point they probably went through the same thing we're going through, which is deer got it and they were dying left and right. Maybe that was part of the reason that we had to restock deer in the 1960s in Mississippi, is because they were getting wiped out by EHD. I don't know. But we're definitely looking at a point here where we will continue to build some resistance in some of these areas and some of these herds that are having it every 2 years, every 3 years. How long does it take for them to build enough resistance that 50% or more of them survive? I don't know.
I mean, to answer your question too, Javin, about have there been, as far as agricultural chemicals and stuff, so like areas like we're at in Illinois, some places in like North Dakota and stuff where there's this big ag, is like there have been studies that definitely are pointing to the fact that it's reducing fertility rates, so the ability to recover from something like a disease outbreak. And I don't think those have ever been, published or publicized, but there's
one that's been published for sure. It's called neonicotinoids, which is basically the chemical that's found in these fawns, and it's mutating essentially the reproductive organs.
Well, that's happening in us. That's happening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. So when you couple that with a massive die-off from like an EHD, they can't recover, right? It's not like in 2 years, every doe's having 2 fawns. They're highly reproductive. Like the herd bounces back. If all of a sudden now we're only averaging 1.2 fawns per doe, well, guess what? It's going to take nearly twice as long to recover. And the odds of having another EHD outbreak in that time frame, pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want to change this too much, but so here at OTS, my son works here, and he just got out of school he's a senior. But I was gonna just put him on the spot here. Can you see? Come over here,
not yet.
So Briar's 17.
Yo,
what's up, Briar?
What's up?
And we were talking earlier about we were kind of on this whole religious thing, about Christ and God and just in our life. You as a young guy, I just want people to listen to this. You as a kid that's been raised how your mom and I have raised you, and you're around kids that maybe are raised differently. Would you rather be raised with God in your life or with not God in your life, and why?
Yeah, definitely. I think part of it, like a lot of people that haven't been raised the way I have, I can see a lot of times they don't have like the patience I have, or kind of like just the same kind of mentality when stuff doesn't go your way. They kind of act out, or they don't they don't see it the same way as I would, where sometimes, you just kind of let things work out and kind of let them handle it. But sometimes they let their emotions get too much of the best of them. And it ends up like, I don't know, not working out for them in the ways that they would hope. But, being raised the way I have been, I think I've been led in a way where I can, put my trust in him and just kind of let him take the way. And I think that's what I'm trying to do more. I mean, it's hard being this young and with the world right now and everything, but yeah, it's definitely like having that in the back of my mind always definitely helps compared to the people that don't have it at all.
So
Go ahead.
So, Brian, were you just in school today already?
Yeah.
Just curious, like, were people talking about Charlie?
Yeah, one of my friends was. He actually acted pretty upset about it. Everyone's just kind of. Even yesterday, it kind of just felt weird. It just felt like a blah. And I don't know. It felt weird in total. Like that was just kind of like what is going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a hard thing, especially at your age, man, because you got so much life ahead of you that something like that, none of us should have to see anything like that in our lifetime. But, I would assume that, a lot of you and your friends probably look at that and it's tough to make sense of.
Yeah, definitely. I hate to see that because if I want to have kids, I don't want them to grow up in a world like what this is turning into. It's not even. I'm not proud of the way that even my generation is headed either. It's kind of crazy the stuff I see still now in school, even in middle schoolers. It's just kind of.
What do you see, Briar? And we live in a pretty good area, pretty
sure rural.
Yeah. It's just kind of. Different. I don't know. I really don't know how to word it.
The views of
just different views. It's
morality.
not. We live in a pretty rural area, so the views are kind of similar, but there's definitely some people, and I don't necessarily think it's the people on their own. I think it's honestly just the lives they live, and it's not really their fault, and it's honestly just kind of
product of their environment.
Yeah, it's not really. They just
or their parents beating it in there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the hardest part, and obviously, for any kid just going through, hormones changing and growing up and, finding cliques, popular, unpopular, right? You're different. I think that's a really tough spot for a lot of people to be in. But, the reaction to something like this, I guess, I think you said it in kind of like, even yesterday, you guys it just didn't seem real, right? Like it just doesn't kind of, it's hard to believe like that is the world that we're living in right now.
Yeah, definitely.
How old are you, Brian?
17.
17. So you're junior?
I'm a senior this year. Yep.
Senior.
I'll be 18 in October.
Yeah, right on.
One thing too, I was going to tell you. So, Briar's on the golf team, and he's a pretty good golfer, but he's only golfed for like a year and a half.
Yeah, this would be like just a little. Yeah, not exactly 2 years. Yeah, a year.
In his first year actually golfing, he decided to golf on the team, and he's been pretty good. And then here, he's been struggling just a little bit. And he was leaving for school the other day, and I stopped him and I said, hey, because he lives a busy life, and he's missed some church here and there. And it's not that you always got to be in church, but church is a good thing where you have a lot of good fellowship with like-minded people, and it's not about just that you have to go to church to go to heaven. But if you're in the right church, you feed off the other people around you. But I was just saying, I know you've been busy and a lot's going on. And I said, has your prayer life stopped? Are you still acknowledging God? And are you still, he can help you with some of these issues, I know you're getting a little frustrated, but I said, just don't forget to put him first in your life. Like, this is important. And then he went to school and he had a big match that afternoon that we were going to go. It was senior night, and we went, and it was, basically the last time he was going to golf on our home course, and last time we would get to see him locally do any kind of sporting event. And he golfed amazing. Him and his buddy both had just the most amazing match. And I asked him at the end of it, I said, did you have a little chat today? And he goes, yeah, I did. And, so I'm just saying, it's like, it's the clarity that you gain in your life too, from having a relationship with Jesus Christ, that can really, and like for him to be, his coaches have always said they've just been amazed at how he handles himself in situations that where other kids are throwing their baseball bats or getting ticked off, or you know what I mean. Briar has just never once handled himself that way. You know, not saying that that's always going to be for everybody, but
sure,
you know, you see the difference in kids that their parents care and kids that parents don't.
Yeah.
Well,
and Briar,
I feel
I'm
so
sure
bad for those other kids.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure those other kids see that in you, Briar, you know, and they probably, you know, it's attractive. They want to know why, you know, why are you able to act that way or react that way? And so, yeah, maybe not right away, you know, but at some point, you know, I mean, those people come back around and you'll have the opportunity to share that with them as to why that is.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
The saying of who you hang around is who you become.
Oh yeah.
And you know, Briar he's made really good choices in the people that he hangs with, and his buddies have done the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And very blessed to have the group of friends that he has, and you know, they all kind of run that even keel, you know. But like I was saying earlier, you know, I have another son and he's good now, but you know, he battled addiction, but he was completely the different crowd.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have that walk with God the way that he should, and he went the other way, and it cost him. You know what I mean? And thankfully he came back. But I just, you know, I ran into Briar downstairs and I went down to use the bathroom, and I was like, hey, come up here. I want to just, you know, I thought it might fit good. So,
no, it's perfect,
very
man.
Cool, man.
So, anyways, thanks, buddy.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Briar.
Thanks, Briar.
See you, Briar.
So, anyways, back to your EHD discussions.
Yeah, no, that's it. I don't have any solutions on anything. I mean,
we did do what you
Did you?
talking about. So
I almost sent you a picture yesterday, Jeremy. With we scattered those what are they called, the neem
pellets.
Pellets.
Yeah. So
And I
here's
sprayed.
Yeah, so here's what I did is because I haven't had corn out all year. I guess my thought process, especially when EHD was happening, is like I don't want to congregate these deer, right? Like I want them to just do their thing, and if they're social, but I don't want to artificially congregate them. Clearly, like we're getting closer to the season here, and I'm like, yeah, I need to see what I got and start filming some strategy. So last week I did put out corn. I baited, I don't know, 5 or 6 different areas. Every one of those I either did oil or I did the neem pellets around it. And what was funny is there were 3 or 4 of those were in clover plots that I just cut off all the weeds off the top just to try to like open it up. And when I put especially the oil down, immediately like all these bugs, like they weren't the no-see-ums or anything, but like other bugs were like out of that area. Like they did not want to be anywhere near that stuff. So and the amount of people that have, because I didn't know, all I did is I found that in research that was done in Italy in 2006. And I talked to those researchers about it, and everything that they told me made sense to use it. It was after we had talked about it that the number of people, even my mom was like, yeah, I put that all over my tomato plants, like to keep the bugs and stuff. I had no idea that people like already were using that for like gardens and things like that.
Is that neem oil a repellent, or is it an herb, like a
No, it's
pesticide?
like a natural repellent. It's not it's not killing the bugs. Like it is keeping them from wanting to be in those areas.
You remember, Javin, it came up and I asked Skip about it, and I think Skip, I'm trying to recall, it's recorded so we can go back and watch it, but exactly what his reaction was.
I don't think Skip likes it.
Generally what I recall was he seemed to think there was something to that deer fence or whatever, the EHD fence, and not so much the neem oil.
Well, so they both react in the same way. Like the EHD defense is not killing the midge. It's creating an environment that is less favorable for the midge.
Correcting your water.
Yeah, and when you talk about, so the biggest thing is clean, clear, deep water is not favorable for the EHD midge to lay larvae. Shallow, warm, muddy is. Well, think about what you're trying to do. Like, it's not EHD defense. I use the same similar products in my pond for water quality for the fish, right? There is a muck resistance and stuff. So as that water, goes away, it evaporates because we're in a drought or whatever. You don't want those muck and muddy areas along the pond because that is a breeding ground for it. Whether you use the EHD defense product or any of those products, like it or not, you're still going to have muddy areas around the pond. You may not have as much muck there because one of those products is but it's still a breeding area. The neem oil side of things is purely a natural insecticide.
That's what I'm thinking of.
that is keeping those from being in the area. Thus, the larva populations are going to be down.
If I'm trying to recall that conversation, I thought it had something to do with like the life cycle of bugs. It was like, yeah, you can spray it and it might do it, but they reproduce so frequently.
So their life cycle is 4 days. The colocoides life cycle is 4 days. To Javin's point earlier, they don't travel far from the mud areas because all they're trying to do is be born, feed a little bit, reproduce, die. That's it. Like within 4 days, those are the things that they're doing. So the Italian research was basically, it was a colocoides midge, not the exact same species that we have, but similar. They went to these mudflat areas with the pellets primarily, although the oil I think is a more effective immediate thing. They went with the pellets. They put down 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. That's what they put down. So if it was a muddy area, they basically put 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. When they took mud samples from areas that they used it versus areas that they didn't, and I don't know what the exact like unit was, but basically they found 50 to 60 larvae in a mud sample where they didn't use it. Where they did use it, they found 5 to 6. So it was a dramatic reduction in the larva.
Over what period of time?
I don't know what the period of time was. And but from what I've read on the neem cake stuff or the pellet stuff is that reaction will continue for 3 to 6 weeks.
More of a slower release.
Yep. And it'll break down into the soil and then it continues to work in the soil. Same with the oils. It will stick and bind to the particles of the soil and then continue to release. So what it was doing is basically you were taking what were breeding grounds and turning them into unfavorable areas for them to continue to be in.
Right.
Well, my initial thought process after hearing the word, neem oil is obviously, oil doesn't mix with water, right? So,
right.
Larvae can't live under oil. Like,
correct.
Oil suffocates them. That was my initial thought was like, oh, you're trying to seal it off so they can't because mosquitoes can't breed and hatch on water with oil
on it
because
right.
because it's like there's no oxygen getting to the surface because of the oil. That was my initial thought, but I guess that's not necessarily
very possible, Javin. I don't know. The one thing I do want to say about the EHD defense stuff is like this colocoides is not like a mosquito larva that lives in water, right? Like when we talk about water quality and creating better water quality, that colocoides is not like a mosquito living in a pool of water. It is in the actual flats, the areas to hatch out.
And I don't know this for sure, but I would probably assimilate it more to like a pre-emergent, type of an herbicide. Is probably how it works more than like a physical barrier.
Yep, that would be my guess. So
and the other thing too, and nothing against that EHD fence, but I would think like in the areas of like say in Athens, Ohio, that experienced all that rain and you got all these water holes on logging roads and,
can't do it.
You could just never, you would not be able to manage it.
No, it's not possible.
Well, another question that I would have is just to that point, like all these creek bottoms, like on one of my farms right now, like I walked a creek bottom, the creek isn't flowing, but there's puddles, at every turn.
Yep, exactly.
And so you would need to, how do you handle that? And I think that's something that these pellets would make more sense as far as like, because every rain, then if it's just the surface oil, every rain would just wash it out and you'd have to start over. But these pellets might be the thing to where, they get into that soil and stay there for what did you say, a couple weeks?
Yeah, 3 to 6 weeks. And keep in mind too, a lot of those creek bottoms, like that, I have a very similar one in Meigs County on mine that is not flowing, but it has those pools. But if you go and inspect the area where these deer are coming up those pools, it's sand and rock substrate. That is not a breeding ground for the midge. In fact, I want my deer to go to those, right?
Yeah,
that's not what they can do.
I experienced that in Illinois. So I have one farm that I hunt on and it's got a creek running through it. And the stretch that runs for a good 3/4 to a mile and a half. I guess it'd be about a mile and a half. The stretch that runs through this main part of this farm that I hunt on is all rocky, sandy gravel. It's not mud.
Yep.
Now, we have not, and I hope I don't jinx myself, we have not really experienced EHD right there when it has hit around our farms and down the creek more. But what I've noticed, where that creek goes farther, it gets muddy.
Yep.
It has muddy banks,
Yep.
nasty banks, goes into a muddy river, things like that. And I think that's key.
it.
I think,
Yeah. There's no line about it. I mean, that is it, it's not a favorable area for the midges to lay larvae into. They can't do it in that rocky, sandy substrate. It just that's not the environment that they need to survive. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Primos.
Dude, double bull blinds, the original doe can, and who could forget the iconic Magnum buck roar?
I mean, that in a nutshell is Primos for whitetail deer hunters. I mean, that buck roar is by far the best grunt call that's ever been made. I lost it in a CRP field in Kansas, somehow found it, and for the last 10 years, I've been notching every buck that I've called in with that call, and I can tell you there's a lot of marks on it.
There's been a lot of them over the years, man. I can recall. So my dad actually shot that 160-inch 8-point in Ohio a couple years ago. It was double bull blind. I just set that up a few days before, and we've had a lot of success out of those over the years. And so right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount off anything on the Primos website. That's primos.com.
Speak the language.
Well, and that brings another point. I think, like you were talking about feeding, Jeremy, and you not feeding. Like in my mind, the feed itself isn't necessarily what's causing any issues. Even the congregating, not necessarily. But if you're congregating them in spots that the midge can survive,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
is where. So I would not necessarily, from that aspect, not necessarily be scared of feeding if you're 200-300 yards away from
Agree.
from where that midge can survive, because that midge does not travel with the deer.
No.
Like, they suck off the deer and go to another deer that's in that location, but they don't travel
Correct.
from that low, water spot. So that would be something that I would be really strong. Like, if you have a property that is low, like, don't feed in those spots. Don't do anything to congregate those deer in those spots. Obviously, they need water, so they're going to get it from somewhere.
Yep.
And that may be something that, have some clean water up top where they don't necessarily have to go down to those wet spots.
Mm-hmm. No,
so
I think
some
that's
of
a
the
great point.
what you've learned, Jeremy, like with the EHD, I was always under the impression that like the midge is in the water, and it bites their tongue.
Mm-mm.
So
No.
that's not really the case
No,
now.
they're flying around just like a mosquito is, and then they're taking a blood meal on that deer anywhere they can get into its body. And then that blood meal, it's that initial blood meal usually is not when the disease happens. It's usually when there's a second one that comes through and transfers it again. So, think about it like if you've got a deer that's got it and it's a carrier and a midge bites on that and drinks the blood, then it goes to another deer that's not a carrier and then bites and feeds on it. That transfer of the disease happens at that point in time. It has nothing to do with where they could be biting them on their ear, their leg, their butt. Like doesn't matter.
Why don't mosquitoes do the exact same thing?
It's because of the species, the Colocoides species is having a chemical reaction with that transfer. So it's a different process.
So it is coming from the bug itself, not
correct.
the blood of the other deer.
Yes, in theory, it's called a blood meal. So when they take that blood meal, that transfer of that into the saliva, essentially, of the midge, then the bite on the other side.
Yeah, so if a midge bites a deer, the deer now has EHD. A mosquito latches onto that one and bites another one.
Can happen. It's more of happening. It's just like if you think about a tick, like certain tick species carry certain diseases. Not all tick species carry the same disease.
Right.
Same thing there. Yep. So Colocoides is
something that little
I
bit
know.
of
it's
can
nuts.
infect a big animal like
It's
that.
nuts. In that fast, man. I mean, I've seen them literally healthy deer 24 hours later dead in a creek. And I'm like,
That's crazy.
and I've watched them in research facilities where I've checked on them like that evening. We used to use a fogger in the research facilities. Like we would spray permethrin to kill all of these midges. And I'd be in there in the evening. I'm watching deer. He's just out there bedding. The next morning I come in and I'm like, boy, his jaw looks a little swollen. And that's his tongue swelling. That is the tongue actually swelling, right? That's the blue tongue, quote term. And I'm like, boy, he looks a little lethargic, but not too bad. That afternoon, dead. Just like that. And it's just, It happens so fast.
Their tongue or their jaw just swells up and suffocates them?
Their
Is that
jaw,
what it is?
no, but as part of the reaction, like they get a fever. It's a full body systemic infection that happens, and the fever and everything. That's why they go to water. It's because they get a fever,
Okay.
so they go to water to try to cool themselves off. The tongue aspect is part of that infection, that the tongue often will swell, and it'll give this. It basically, it's usually the underneath of the jaw looks like it's puffy. Like you can tell on any of these deer, if you see them, it's the telltale sign before they die. Is if you get one on camera and you're like, boy, that looks weird. Like, what's going on there? Its tongue is swelling. Therefore, you're seeing swelling like under the jaw. And I would say within 48 hours, you'll find that deer dead. Yep. Yeah, and it's
Mark's
just
neighbors was just talking about that they have one of their best bucks is still alive, but they noticed they thought he was sick because it looked like he was puffy.
Ugh.
So he's probably got it.
Yeah.
And they've already lost a lot. That
Yeah.
was in Noble County.
Yep. Yeah, and it's the only thing that sets it back will be, well, I will say we had a couple days like 40, 41 down there this week. That will slow it. Won't stop it, but it for sure will slow it just because these, bug activity increases with temperature and specifically soil temperature for the midges.
This coming week's going to be rough.
Coming week's going to be rough. And then even let's say next week, hypothetically, which we aren't, but next week we got a hard freeze and knocks it off. If we go right back up to warmer temperatures and same type of conditions in October, it'll happen again. I think it was 2 years ago in Iowa in November because you would get it wouldn't last long, but you would have.
Mark Drury says it's the south winds bring them in.
Well, yeah, because it's warmer temperatures. Abnormally warm
south
temperatures.
winds bring that.
That would make sense. Yeah,
well,
they travel with the wind.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he also said that some pretty smart people that he had talked to said that there's different strains of it now. Like,
there's a ton of them, dude. There's a ton.
And that's why, like, say even in the South, some of the deer can't take it now because they're not immune to it.
Yeah, I saw on the map the other day I was looking at. So there's always been EHD V1 and EHD V2. That's epizootic hemorrhagic disease virus 1 and virus 2. There's also been BTV 1 and 2, which is blue tongue virus 1 and 2. I saw one here recently. I don't know what it was, like EHDV 13 or something. I have no idea. They're just documenting the more and more that they're happening. So yeah, I mean, when you get a new strand, right? Again, it goes back to the resistance side of trying to keep up with it, and these deer can't. A lot of what we saw in Mississippi was like EHDV 1 and blue tongue virus 2 in 2007, and we saw that come up here in 2012. My guess is if those are the strains that are being passed around, you probably have that on an annual basis, and you don't have significant deer die-offs because they're more resistant to it. But what's getting right now, like this, I think it was EHDV 13 or whatever the heck it was. I bet that's, if you test most of those deer, I bet that's what's killing them because there's no resistance to it. That's the first time they've ever been exposed to it. So,
you guys have any targets you're chasing this year lined up?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully if they make it.
Bunch of nice Ohio 4-year-olds.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that Ohio Magnum you got? You going to pass him or are you going to whack him?
No, he's going to kill him.
No, there's no chance. So basically, it's been evolving like on a daily basis here. And one of the pieces that he potentially could be on just got sold. Basically, so my uncle sold 2,500 acres out from under the family, essentially, to a big group of Amish people. Actually, well, there's 4 of them, and they are just hacking it to shit. I mean, you got a couple 100-acre lots that are going in 15-acre chunks.
Is that
they're selling it off? They're like, lotting it off?
Every bit of it.
Yep.
I asked the main guy the other day, I said, are you going to keep a piece of it for yourself? And he's like, nope, I'm moving to Wyoming. So, yeah, they're just, it's purely a money play.
Does your uncle feel really good?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him.
I'm sure he does. Well, the one they're doing an auction on Saturday.
Yes, Saturday.
It's like, what, 10 parcels or more?
Yeah, at least, yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of what's happening, and it's just, I mean, it's not great for, the future of our deer herd there. But no, I don't feel like that deer has any chance of surviving past this year. And I can't blame anybody for wanting to shoot him.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you get a chance, you're going to shoot him.
He's a great deer. But so yeah, that has me feeling like we're going to have to target him pretty early on.
I got a Kentucky elk tag, Ben.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've got a landowner tag, so I start.
That one you sent me this morning.
Was it a good one?
I look like a shooter to me.
Oh yeah, I killed the
Now,
shit out of
was
that.
that
thing.
on your property, the picture?
No, so I got a landowner tag for they own 30,000 plus acres down there. So basically the state gives them a tag per 5,000 acres. And they hold an auction every year and stuff, and you know, the auction lapsed and I made an offer after the auction and they took it, and it's not as bad as you would think.
Well,
so
okay. Better than traveling all the way to Montana or somewhere,
Yeah.
and there'd probably be a hog down there.
Oh yeah. Well, and so the cool thing is it's good for all seasons. So like unlike a draw where you just draw for archery or you just draw bull one, like I can hunt anything the whole time. You know, and so it starts, well, this is there in, I don't know, when's this airing?
Next Thursday.
Yeah, so it starts this Saturday coming up the 13th. I'm going to sit out the first week of archery, and then I'm going to hunt 8 or 9 days straight for archery into the first couple days of gun, which I'm still going to take my bow, but that's like peak rut down there.
Nice.
So
man, there's some big elk down there.
Yeah, so I don't know, running around down there. I don't have anything crazy in Ohio or Kentucky from a whitetail side yet. I've got some unbelievable 4-year-olds, but it's like, you know, I'd rather
We do every year.
Yeah, I'd rather see them make it another year if possible. But so yeah, I'm just gonna go elk hunt, and basically most of the good elk hunting is done first week of October. So then I'll just switch my brain over to whitetail then.
That's cool, man. I hope you get one. I remember years ago I was looking at timber in PA, and we decided to just go ahead and drive on out to Benazet and look at the elk there. Unbelievable what those things look like.
I wish it was that
you're
easy.
talking a Midwest boy that's not used to seeing elk.
Yeah, dude, there are some giants there.
Oh my god,
they regularly are killing 325s to 350s in Kentucky. They've killed a couple 400s, but it's not like Pennsylvania. Like they're not just laying it in somebody's yard. Like these things are buried in 12-foot autumn olive, and like probably haven't seen a human besides like some meth head on a 4-wheeler.
Like old strip mine ground
That's
stuff.
That's what it all is.
Like old Peabody coal stuff.
That's what it all is. Yep. And so,
Gotcha.
But I grew up hunting that, and like I don't know, I like that stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna go and put some miles on for 8 or 9 days and try to hear a bugle and get on one.
How about you, Ben?
Cool.
You
taking
got
somebody with you, or are you going by yourself?
No, I'm going solo, man. I'm gonna make it an adventure.
Yeah.
No guide, do it yourself. Yeah, and then if I kill one, figure out how to get them out.
Work harder, nobody cares.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What are you got anything, Ben, outside of Illinois and Ohio?
You know, I got a lot of solid deer on places that I can hunt and a few things that I own, but I don't have any like monsters, you know.
Are you gonna go? Are you gonna be in?
We were talking about this on our podcast, and I said, you know, I was like, I don't really have anything giant that I'm hunting, and it was amazing the amount of comments that were like, "Oh, you poor baby." Like, dude, I'm not even not even crying about it. I was just talking about it.
I'm just
like,
saying,
just talking,
guys.
you know, just saying, like, you know.
What about your giant, Javin, that you were posting?
He's haven't gotten him hard horn yet. I actually just went in there. I was telling Ben, I went in a week and a half ago, Labor Day, and made some mock scrapes and did some cameras on ridges and stuff that I hadn't been in there in a long time, in a couple of years. So I needed to be able to know what's there and where I can hunt and how I can get on him. And I'm sure I blew him out if he was there, but I think he's back and forth on the neighbors, and I haven't gotten him hard horned yet. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not trying not to put my hopes up too high, but I'm sure he'll be through there at least at some point.
We're getting a pretty hard shift right now too. There's a lot of red oaks and chestnut oaks dropping, and shedding out process and bachelor groups. It's kind of a weird time. I have 3 really good 4-year-olds on my Ohio place, and they all were dark for almost 10 days, and all 3 of them I've seen in the last 2 days show up hard horned.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and when I say I don't have giants, I'm talking like I don't have a deer that's like I feel like it's 185 plus or whatever. You know, I've got a couple deer that'll go gross spoon for sure.
Yeah, those are good.
You know, 170, but
that'll do.
But the hard part is like the one is definitely 6.5. I know him pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's probably knocking 70. Wouldn't you say that 10 with the stickers knocking 70, the narrow tall one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd say he's knocking 70. We're not sure how old that deer is for sure. I've got I've got just a slew of super studs in Ohio that are like 3.5, 4.5. Like just, oh my gosh, if these deer can make it, like.
Do you have any mature deer that you're like, oh, this is a slammer in Ohio? Or they just not make?
So like everybody asks me anymore, like, what's your goal in Ohio, dude? If I get a 160 and he's 5, I'm hunting it.
Yeah.
In Ohio anymore, because I just don't get the big ones anymore in Ohio. I just don't get them on camera. Well, and I know we have at least 1, 2, 3. Now, granted, I've got a lot of different places to hunt in Ohio. That's where I live. So, I know I've got at least 4 to 5 5+ year old deer that I can hunt.
Yep.
I think the biggest one might go 160.
Yep.
163.
Well, we finally caved this year, Ben, and not like this is going to solve all our problems by any means, but bought some feeders, just gravity fed. You know, what I mean, from Texas Wildlife Supplies, the big ones is the brand that we bought. Yeah, 2,500 pound feeders, and basically the goal is to try to anchor some deer to a certain area that we feel is a core interior. Like at least on my farm, we're not going to hunt them. I have 2 on my farm. Jeremy got 2 for his place, and I put them in places that essentially there is no effective way to hunt. I know that the deer feel super safe there because the wind swirls down in there, and they're easy to access for filling and stuff. So we'll see. This is the first year I've got them out. Those bucks are using them, but will it hold them there? I'm doubtful, but
Ben,
we'll see.
Per what you just said in terms of like you've got those mature bucks that the best one's going to score 160. I mean, clearly it seems like we're at a point that we've for sure high graded the Ohio buck population.
Oh, well, and this is another thing I think that's happened too. Hunters are a lot more effective than they used to be with cell cams, baiting, just smarter hunters, food plots, technology. People hunting more during archery season. But I think, years ago it used to be a lot of the guys would get into the woods, and if it was archery season and a good solid 120, 125 deer go by, man, they're cutting it down.
Yep.
And they were tickled, and and I used to be a little upset about that, thinking, man, why don't they wait for that deer to get bigger? But what I've realized is those same guys that were doing that now have graduated to shooting those 45 to 60 type deer.
Oh yeah.
And are good at it.
Yep.
And those are the deer that make it to that 180 mark plus. The next, they're not getting there. There's always some that get by. Some deer just don't have the genetics. Like some of these deer that I have that I know are 6, they just don't have the genes to get there. Like that deer, I don't know if you guys remember the deer I posted last year. I filmed this deer. He was a giant 8-point and had a big sticker and a sticker out of his base. Really big 8-pointer. Well, it's just shed right here. And just a big old boy, and
slammer.
Big palmated beam. And I was like, man, once I sat this deer, and then once I sat him in this timber and I filmed him, and I'm like, man, I don't know. That deer looks 4, so I decided to let him be. And then I found his shed right there too. And he finally just showed back up, and he didn't grow a lick.
Yeah.
Lost the sticker on his base. His 1G2 actually shrank. He might be a little heavier throughout.
Yeah.
But
well, dude,
he just didn't grow.
There's definitely,
it just seems like that happens a lot anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely pressure related too. Like, while I have a hard time believing that guys are passing 4 and 5 year old like 140-inch type deer, I just think that they're targeting and successfully targeting younger, higher scoring deer, because I definitely have a bell curve of like my 3 and 4 year old seems to peak in terms of score. And then I do have some 5, 6, 7 year old deer, but all of them fall off and they get back into that 130 range.
Yeah. Turn into a bunch of turds.
Well, does it have anything
well, they've always been turds, but they just live.
Does it have anything to do with too high deer density as far as just pressure in the herd?
I think to a point, but I think most of it is those higher quality deer getting killed at 3 and 4, and the crappier deer getting let through because of the selectiveness
You're gonna see that high. You know, if that's having an impact, that's going to be across the. You wouldn't have those 3 and 4 year olds scoring the way they do. You know?
One thing I really liked talking to Skip last week, because we did a podcast with him.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about how he had bought a farm and somebody else had managed it, and somebody else in the industry basically, but they had done that. They'd basically high graded it.
Yep.
And I think he said they shot $26 the first year, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
You know, he went in and they shot like $26 off this farm, I think he said.
Yeah.
And, you know, over a year or 2 years or something. It's on our podcast.
Yeah.
But just cleaning it up, you know, and I mean, that's hard to fathom. Like, wow. You shot that many actual male deer?
Yeah.
Not just does, but bucks?
Yeah.
But he said now it's an incredible farm.
Yeah.
So I'm under the realization, me and Javin have been talking, and Dan, that like some of the stuff that we own and even lease, I think that's got to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I think
100%.
I'm going to have to try it.
Yeah.
Well, it's that. I know it's even still today, they spend a lot of their time trying to shoot off some of those, you know, weaker genetic type deer. But there's other things too, like, and Skip will tell you that feeding those deer protein, you know, throughout the off season, he's adamant that that's a 10 to 12%, you know, growth on the antlers that he's seeing over, you know, places that don't do that. Of course, it's common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't think that's something you can start this July and expect it to work.
No.
Well, it's also not something that I can justify financially in Ohio, because these deer are dead deer walking. Why am I going to pour tens of thousands of dollars into deer I know are going to get killed?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. And I've heard some numbers of what some people spend on deer feed, and it blows my mind.
It's insane.
It's nuts, man.
I'm like, what? I don't even make that.
I know, man.
I know.
It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to justify. I mean, it'd be a different thing if these deer are getting to 5, 6, 7 years old and you're like, okay, now I just want to, this is the next level, is to add more and stack more onto it. But yeah, when you're at that point where they're getting killed at 3 and 4, like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Bushnell.
Man, what an iconic brand. I mean, I vividly remember growing up, it seemed like every serious deer hunter had a Bushnell pair of binoculars or a Bushnell rifle scope. You knew that those guys were serious about what they were about to go with if they were packing the Bushnell stuff.
No doubt, man. I remember Bone Collector guys and so many others that we've respected over the years. It's always been like your grandpa's rifle scope. And since then, obviously, they've developed so many great products. We're rocking the R series of binoculars this year. I believe it's the R5 10x42s. Those have been awesome. We took those to TAC a couple weeks ago, along with the Broadhead rangefinder. It's got a ton of technology packed into it for angles and for bow hunters ultimately. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things, we've talked about this with a lot of the brands we're working for, is we want high quality gear that's affordable, and that's exactly what Bushnell's trying to position here. They want to make really good gear that anyone that's serious about deer hunting can afford. And so most of those R5 series binos that we're talking about are under $300 for unbelievable glass.
No doubt. And so for right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, to get a discount on the Bushnell website. That's bushnell.com.
Yeah, good talk with those guys. Appreciate everyone kind of listening to the first, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. Obviously not necessarily hunting related, but important, I think, in obviously on a day of September 11th that we constantly are reflecting on, and everything with Charlie yesterday. Yeah, good to just kind of air it out and have those discussions.
That's just where the heads are at this morning, and fortunately this will drop, not too far, after today. I know we're quick to forget and move on, but
yeah, hopefully this one, not in a negative way, but lingers a little bit longer and resonates a little bit longer, that was a big loss, and that there's an impact that hopefully carries on in a positive light, as positive as it can be.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's some perspective going into the season. It's easy to put other things above, prioritize deer over relationships and and lots of other things, our faith and all kinds of other stuff. So going into the season, I think it's a good timely reminder for us to, keep things in perspective. And
yeah, I think if anything, it really like I thought that was a good description. The camaraderie aspect, like the time we get to share in camp together, and obviously with our dads and Uncle Dale this year at Kansas. Those moments are fleeting. You know, however you want to look at them. So
and so easily, you know, overshadowed by certain deer, you know, or, you know, wanting to, you know, because that's how it goes, man. Like the reality is, like, even deer camp it gets gritty in the sense that it's like the slightest decision or move is going to, like, could make the difference on you.
Yeah.
You know, catching up with a certain buck or doing whatever. And, like, it's easy to let those things blind you from, like,
super guilty.
You know, the people you have around you. And
I mean, my dad and I were just talking about that in Ohio. We worked 2 days on the cabin. Like, we're super excited about it. The kids love going down there for deer camp. You know, it's funny. You just find the things that they, like, just magnetize to, and for whatever reason, and they're not there that often. They're like, man, we love going to Ohio deer camp. And I'm like, cool. And I've got, you know, 3 4-year-olds, and I'm like, boy, those deer would be big next year. But it's like, you know, I've made a decision, like, we're going to actively hunt them, like, with the kids and my dad. And, you know, I might not shoot them, but I'm not going to. In the past, I for sure have been guilty of, like, not hunting it because I'm like, well, it's just those deer and I don't really want to kill one. And that's not the way to look at it. That's a flawed view on the entire memory that you're building and creating. And so, I think that's the hope. I mean, that's part of we talked about it earlier, the solo trip to Kentucky it's like just me in the hills of Eastern Kentucky for 8 or 9 days. And if I succeed, awesome, and I'll figure it out. If I don't, like, it'll be 8 or 9 days of really good, like, self-reflection of just being in it.
Well, and you know what? We're super fortunate to have the opportunity to chase big deer like that. And so, like, you know, we've created a lot of those opportunities for us. We know, because that is a goal of ours. We wanna have that experience, but also, so yours is the Ohio deer camp. Mine is also Ohio. You know, we have 5 or 6 guys that hunt with us, and like, I kind of have a decision to make, or I would be in the position to make a decision of, I'm either going to be a hard ass about it and say, no, we're not shooting any of these 4-year-olds, and, you know, here's how we're going to hunt this thing and this and that. And I know that would not be as enjoyable of an experience for anyone, including myself, probably, if I'm honest about it.
Sure.
And so literally what I did was, and I think we've done it in years past, but for sure I took the initiative this year to say, guys, we just need to all get together. Like, I don't want, if there's going to be disagreement, I'd rather just let's
hash it out.
Let's hash it out up front and talk about how everybody wants this season to go. And so it really is just communication up front, I'm hoping. So this weekend, we're going to get all the guys together and say, hey guys, here's all the deer, here's all the information, here's everything I have. How do we want this to go? You know, can we all, at least the 5 or 6 of us, be on the same page? And maybe it's not exactly what I want from one particular deer or something like that, but I'm going to prioritize our group dynamic this year over a specific deer.
Well, and I think even, you know, a lot of that probably is a derivative of what you guys have experienced from a neighbor front in the past and in the future too.
For sure.
But look at Southern Ohio right now getting smoked with EHD. I mean, what feeling would you have you trying to protect these 4-year-olds and, like, hey, we're not killing any of these 4-year-olds. We're going to get them to 5 next year. You get smoked by EHD, you lose everything.
Right.
So not only did you not make a memory this year with your friends and family, you're not going to make one next year either because of it. And maybe for the next 4. So it's like, you know, these are a limited resource. We probably haven't used that term in a while, but they are. And so whether it's neighbors, whether it's EHD, like, they will not always be there. And so, you know, I think part of it is just do what makes you happy, you know, and you, with some balance and some management in there.
Definitely.
Right.
Well, it doesn't just mean, okay, go and shoot everything. And that's the way to make memories, but it's like, we have some great deer, you know, and it's like, that doesn't mean don't try to raise the bar either. It's like, and I acknowledge, like, I'm in a position here where I'm trying to raise the bar higher than most guys want to or care to. And
maybe even that's feasible, right? Like, you're trying to raise a bar that you don't even know is attainable yet.
And here's the point that you get to is it is feasible, but I'd have to kick everybody off.
Yeah.
That's the point that you get to. It's like, and that's the point in the road. You're like, I could achieve this,
but nobody else could.
Nobody else would have any opportunity. And so that's basically what I'm saying is I'm going to choose this here.
Yeah.
And also,
which is the healthy way to do it.
Yeah, well, and also we've gone out and made other opportunities for ourselves. So, like in Illinois, I think you and I will be more inclined to be like, "Hey, we're after a trophy animal in Illinois." It's just you and me.
Yeah,
that's not going to hurt either of our feelings if we say, "Let's pass a deer."
Yeah, I'd rather eat my tag than shoot something that doesn't meet those expectations.
So we have that opportunity to do that. We've also got Kansas stacked on top of that. So we'll have opportunities at Big Deer, you know, so there's a time and place for each of these scenarios to take place.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing, is being able to embrace the expectations and scenario that you're in. And it's okay to have it. And honestly, it's healthy to have differing expectations for different situations. You know, and I think that's the point. You're going to have one that's a deer camp camaraderie aspect. You're going to have another one where it's like, I'm only going to kill the biggest, baddest buck that I can find. You'll have another one where it's like, I might not even hunt. I'm just here to help other people succeed. So,
well, even the decision and our conversation this morning, frankly, already has me like with a more positive outlook on what's going to happen in Ohio this year.
Okay.
You know, some of these new neighbors or something very well may shoot some of these deer that I'd love to see get past, and it's our group, you know, get anyways. And it is what it is. You know, there's things out of our control. I'm going to make sure.
Or they turn out to be great neighbors. Maybe they still aren't passing those deer, but like they at least are on the same page.
I'm open to all of those possibilities.
Yeah. So it's just, you just have to go into the outlook. We're early enough into this fall where it's like, life's short. You know, if anything, that's what we know today for sure.
That is one of the things I love so much about bow hunting is like you are going to be faced with challenges on it and ups and downs for sure. And so it really is about your attitude and how you kind of rebound from deer you're hunting are going to die, whether it's from EHD or neighbors get them
they die. They all do.
You know, they die and things happen. And, you know, even beyond that, you lose access to properties or, you know, personal things happen throughout it. And so it's cool to be able to just like even in your own, you know, within yourself to see how you're able to like keep a steady chug, you know, kind of through this. Can I rebound from that? Can I keep a positive attitude? And eventually you're going to have success too.
Yep.
And so when you do, it often is when you look back on all the challenges that happened throughout that year or years leading up to it, that makes it so rewarding.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I couldn't have said it better. I think that's a good one. Perfect. Well, we appreciate everyone listening to HUNTR Podcast, episode 271 with Javin Mullett and Ben Rising, and we will catch you all next time.
Later.
Take me